have a blind eye? Do they actually form a resistance coalition? What happens?
Yo, what up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Oh, shit. Oh man, the fucking the TTA, the text to speech fucking activated and heard me and then put what up, what up, what up 10 times in my title. Hold on. Hashtag live, hashtag Twitch, hashtag politics. Okay. Do. What up? How's everyone doing? I think I drank too much kratom a second ago. I'm feeling a little wobbly. Little wobbly. I need to call Sister Andrea. Okay. Post. Do y'all remember that Project Preserve Destiny thing from the Italian newspaper a couple months ago? That was the dude from that program was on Jesse's show, and like, okay, so the story came out, and I had never heard it before, right? And turns out somebody had foiled it before, and they had done all here. Let me find Jesse's tweet, and we'll look at that because he explains it better than me. It's such a fucking corny name, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, this guy seems pretty authentic, but that Italian newspaper thing seemed fucking sus. Here. Where is it? Dude, that Walter Kern guy's been spitting the last few days too, right? That's really interesting, huh? You're such a fantastic moron. Here. Okay. Here. Look, just look at this. And that Walter Kern guy, he's speaking my language. Like, I got my problems with him, but he's the guy who interviewed Grush, like right when Grush first came out. So I was looking at his tweet, he like on his replies, and he's been talking about this shit for a while. He says, researching it or whatever. Here, while I'm on the subject of Kern, because I just saw Jesse retweeted him. The UFO distraction conspiracy so many here knowingly cite would, at this point, have to be larger and better coordinated than the cover-up conspiracy they find so outlandish. Exactly. First of all, to what end? Very first thing, to what end? What for? What is it? What is the distraction for? Right? People always say that, like, they think it's such a distraction. You know what's a distraction is fucking anything else, right? Like any other celebrity story, any like fucking, like Trump antics. That shit people pay attention to and just like orders of magnitude larger scale, This is people find it really interesting and like really earth shattering, but it's really not that popular of a topic, you know, especially with the way they've been fucking algorithmically biasing it. People always ask for evidence because the stories we break are so outlandish. Here's the full evidence from Dan Sherman being tasked with alien communications for the NSA. So I don't know. I just listened to this guy's interview. I'd never heard of him before. The story itself seemed pretty plausible, seemed pretty credible. This guy in particular seemed like a regular dude. You know, didn't seem like a grifter or like a fucking like a spook or anything. So it sounds like a thing that would happen though, right? Sort of like remote viewing, but like with communication, I guess is how I would describe it. Like they're receiving messages from fucking, you know, aliens. This guy, he doesn't know, he says, obviously, the same thing, you know. That's step one, by the way, is like people being honest with the fact that they don't know what the fuck it is, right? The project he was involved in for the NSA was called Project Preserve Destiny. Researcher Noah Hradek used the Freedom of Information Act to request info on it, and the Air Force forwarded the request to the NSA, completely unprompted. Okay, so this is before anybody had any info on it. So he sent the thing to the Air Force, or to FOIA, and they forwarded it to the NSA, right? Which, you know, dead giveaway, right? Why would they do that if the project was fake or not associated with the NSA? Sherman followed a van right outside the complex he was conducting operations into a company called NCT, Noise Cancellation Technologies. They had a contract with DARPA that had just been initiated at the time, fully public record. And that's interesting, and the kind of thing where you wouldn't know it at the time, you would find out years later, but, you know. We reverse image searched Sherman's image of the first Project Preserve Destiny base in his book and figured out it was in San Vito dei Normanni in southern Italy, which Sherman admitted was correct. Probably not a coincidence then that Project Preserve Destiny randomly shows up in a prominent Italian weekly, L'Espresso, earlier this year. Richard Geldrich, who was instrumental in this interview happening in the first place, founded Dan Sherman on Ancestry.com living right near Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, right when he was stationed there. Isn't this also the base? Isn't this where that original drone event was, too? I know it was in Nebraska. I think it was near this base, though. Dan Sherman says his NSA training certification for the daytime ELINT work he was doing at the time, and was involved in the highly classified Project Preserve Destiny at night. Finally, and more qualitatively, Sherman pattern matches to an extremely normal, lucid, and cogent guy. If you watch the whole interview, there's no sensationalism whatsoever. Also, the other thing, too, is the way he got out of it at the end, I thought was really interesting and I had never heard before. It was during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell period, and he had some moral qualms about what he was doing, and he's like, I'm gay. You do with that what you want. And they kicked him out, you know. He said he was bi, and he told them he was gay, and they kicked him out. So, this guy, he loses a lot of credibility for saying fucking pattern matches. Only pattern matches. Fuck you, dude. I mean, pattern matching. Did I show you this Kern guy's tweet the other day, though? Where is it? Could I blow the whole UFO thing wide open for you? You won't believe me anyway. Sorry. It's only a matter of time until you hear things that will rock your world, if your world is rockable. You will have a hard time verifying them, but that's true of everything you hear. It's true of unemployment statistics. They will be very specific things, however, and so far out, so beyond your expectations, they will ring your bell, and you'll hear them from people you weren't ready to hear such things from. The shelves are in the canon. It's all about who gets to shoot it and who wins and who loses when it goes off. There's a lot of money involved. Lots. Hear me now, believe me later, as they say. I've been saying that. It's basically what I've been saying, right? You will fucking eventually. But I said to that guy the other night, or a couple, whatever that was, it was like, look, I am fucking fully confident you will eventually come around to my position. You know, like, whether you do it now or you do it in the future, it's up to you. What if I suggested to you it's quite possible that what is being distracted from is rather close to the thing many of you view as the distraction? The best lies containing a lot of truth, that old principle. What? The thing being distracted from is rather close to the thing many of you view as the distraction. I don't get it. I mean, we got bodies though, right? That's what I'm saying. It's like, there's already so much evidence there. People have to convince themselves it's not true, or they don't know about it. Like, we see it. It's like, there's no reason that anybody, like, I mean, I guess there's reasons why, but like, you'll see that when people reference like the Bugha Spear or the Nazca mummies and all, they have to lie or vaguely just imply that, oh, obviously you think it's bogus. They don't have anything to discredit it with. They just try to like fucking smear Jaime Maussan by implication or whatever. Like, they got that fucking, the UGA lab did the carbon dating, and the thing is 12,000 years old, and then it's got these symbols on it that are, they pattern match to fucking, you know, proto, whatchamacallit, Sanskrit. People at large have this strange notion that they basically have good info in a general way about the important scientific and technical accomplishments occurring in the world, and suddenly an atomic bomb goes off and the public goes back to thinking it knows things. Again, also something I find myself saying similar notions, right? What? Oh, we're level 12. This is what I say too, man. It's like, people think that they know shit. It's like, you might have an idea of like papers that are being published, right? And like, we know that that's definitely not the full picture, right? It costs money to publish papers if you're not working at a fucking big university. Like, Bob been doing this shit for 10 years. His first paper in Nature was like last year, right? Many thousands of years there has been nothing extraordinary going on in the world and in the heavens, but tricky priests, etc. have pretended there was, and people in their simple-minded way just misinterpreted things we've all got figured out now. Maybe you believe that. I mean, again, this is another thing. This is what people think, right? This is what the modern atheist, materialist, reductionist point of view is, right? Is that like, oh, those religions have been lying to you. We've been saying the opposite, is the religions are missing the story, right? But they're referencing real phenomenon. People a lot smarter than I think I am extremely interested in really weird things that people a lot dumber than I'll ever be are also very interested in. I think I am extremely interested in really weird things that people a whole lot dumber than I'll ever be are also very interested in. I don't get that. Sunny in Philadelphia? Comrade Alien, please help it. I mean, look, I'm of two minds about that though, right? Because in some sense, it's like, yeah, I want them to do what Headband Lady says, right? But in another sense, it's kind of terrifying. Like, if they are, like, godlike beings coming down to the earth and, like, fucking taking control of our civilization, that's pretty scary. But, look, this shit fucking sucks, and I don't see a whole lot to stop it from getting worse and worse, so I'll take a wild card. Let's take our chances, you know? This is what I say. This is exactly what I say, man. Look at this. It's such a mid-wit fucking take. People like debunker shit. And I say it all the time. If I didn't know as much as I did, I would be in that camp. Right? It's like, once you get over the hump and you fucking start seeing the patterns and all, then you end up where this guy is. This is what I like to think we are down here, chat. What? Alright, we'll get to this. It's on the list.
So right now,
Finish this guy's tweets. Okay, dude. Says the guy who doesn't ever ride the bus. Cool. Acclaimed novelist. Freaky drones are seen all over New Jersey for like a month, causing a near national panic. But if I bring up the UFO subject in any serious way, people be like, he's weird. Yeah, again, same thing. Right? Like I said, we're not going to change our point of view. They are going to come around to where we are eventually. And it looks like that's what's happening. See? Look, exactly. Traveled all over the country for a book trying to figure out what, if anything, unites us, and I can tell you right now, interest in the weird is pretty high on the list. Exactly. But I don't think Trump he's too selfish to do anything that's not in his immediate self-interest. So, while he could release the info and be the fucking UFO disclosure president, I think he'll fuck it up or do something selfish to ruin it. I mean, I don't know, fucking using my powers of discernment, headband lady seems like that's about, that's a pretty good scenario. Seems plausible. Which again, keeping in mind the historical trajectory, who these characters supposedly are, right? What, like, fucking, if it was Hercules on that spaceship, what would they do? These are these are heroes in the ancient text for a reason. It was Enoch. I guess Enoch was a human, but yeah, the bus system is shitty. Yeah, it should be free. It should have been free in New York a long time ago. You gotta fucking pay exact change. It's such a hassle. Wait, the thing has to stop. Stops up traffic. Not invented here syndrome. Epistemic closure. If it was true, I'd already know it, and if it were real, I'd have seen it already. Only goes so far. Yes, but it does go some of the way. If I were wrong, I would have realized it by now. Goes nowhere, though. People are born, live, and die wrong all the time. Uncertainty. Yeah. Again, this guy's speaking my language over here. Peace is when different parties believe they still have something to gain from one another in a healthy, flourishing state, not as prisoners or slaves or casualties to be stepped over, and I happen to think we still do. What? I don't know what that means either. I don't hear great things about this doc. What? Okay. The government aliens are not visiting Earth. Okay, dude. Critical analysis on military black tech, UAPs, AI, drones, robots, warfare, and geopolitics. Okay, so when you say this shit, it's like, yeah, no, we really trust your fucking point of view on these other topics. Aerogel. Okay, dude. And then he fucking retweets the Jesse thing with the guy I was just talking about, the Dan Sherman guy, I know this story, have looked into it, and I think you'll be interested in it. See, that's the kind of thing where, like, this guy I feel like has the sources where he could fucking he could follow up on that Sherman thing, and he probably has somebody at the NSA or whatever. Wonderment and uncertainty are not pathologies, not weaknesses to be condemned or rooted out, but states of openness whose cultivation might help us along toward a more sociable and less confrontational existence. Yeah. The biggest tech investors in the world are deeply interested in the matter of UFOs, etc., and entertain all sorts of way out scenarios touching on the subject. But here on X, the real story is known by people who've barely looked into it. Worse, they're self-righteous about it. Yeah, again, this is what we find, right? The fucking people who come in here who are the most vicious debunkers know the least about it. Always. Always. Some big event or reality the UFO subject has successfully and specifically distracted the public from paying attention to. Again, this is such a fucking midwit, dumbass answer. No, I feel like midwit is giving it too much credit. It's a dumbass take. You know how I feel about the whole distraction scenario. Yeah. Larger and better coordinated than the cover-up. Again, consider that. Every year there's tens of thousands of sightings. There's all these insane stories that have been coming out for consistently for decades. But somehow that's all fabricated to cover up, to hide what? What could possibly be trying to hide that is somehow necessitates that? So half of America could feel like it's really skeptical and sees through stuff and can't be fooled. And while people are congratulating one another on how scientific they are, sell them using white coats on a bat flu. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad take either. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be the fucking, you know, Three-Eye Atlas or whatever, but it feels right. I don't know. Biggest debunker, the most vicious, and the least fucking well-read on the subject. Oh, Walter Kern. Okay, he wrote the book with the Clooney book, right? Up in the Air. Okay. The same psyop shit Aston Forbes is selling. Yeah, there's a certain type of guy who wants to convince everybody it's all human tech and the UFOs being aliens is the cover-up. That's the distraction from the human tech. But fucking newsflash, that doesn't fit the pattern. It doesn't pattern match, right? The fucking, like, the stories that are in the news on a frequent basis, right? Most of these, like, you know, quote-unquote whistleblowers are people who would not have come forward with their story nor been allowed to tell their story if it were a black budget project. That doesn't fucking jive, right? They wouldn't let Grush go on TV if his shit was, like, all pointing to human technology, human projects or whatever, right? Duh. Which, again, that's what I'm saying. These people don't even think this shit through. They just assume, you know? Anyway. Hold on. Alright, we'll get to that. This is almost over.
Well, I'll try to end on a hopeful note. Not because I want to deviate from the facts. The facts, whether they're hopeful or not hopeful, the facts are what's most important, but I still think there are hopeful signs. I would say one thing that actually,
You know what I got?
surprised me, and maybe I'm so desperate to see something positive. There was the court decision.
I ordered them from Amazon, so they're stale.
Mahmoud Khalil and the others. The judge was, his name is Young, I think, and he was a Reagan appointee. He was so tough on Trump. He said that they're terrorizing people who trying to exercise their free speech. And he says, why can't they exercise their rights of speech, but a much bigger group who are pro-Israel get to exercise their rights? He said, why was ICE putting on
Why are you
the
talking
masks?
so slow? Yeah, why are they wearing
He
masks,
said
man?
they
There's
looked
no
like the
justification
Ku
for that.
Klux Klan. Well, yeah, he was tough. And
That gives you hope.
is there any grounds for hope? Obviously, it's a fair question. First of
I
all,
mean,
we have to.
They'll just
in my
burn down their
opinion, we
house
have
and fucking kick them out of office next chance they get.
to start from the basics. There's no
Oh,
silver
no, I
lining
got
in
fancy
the
nuts
sense
yesterday, and I got red vines today.
About, I mean, even the
Oh, we got the deal.
this Trump
We got the
was
fucking
just
prison deal.
totally
I mean, I haven't gotten paid yet, but
detached from reality.
funding
We
secured.
want the people of Gaza to stay. Stay where?
Right.
About at this point, 90.
I love it, dude. I'm getting to go after prison guards.
2 months ago, 92% of the housing was gone in Gaza. Now, that was before the demolition of Rafah and before the demolition of Gaza City. Now it must be.
What if there's going to be a
90
pole flip and the people in Gaza are the only ones who survive because they go down the tunnels?
5% of Gaza, or 95% of Gaza's housing is gone.
Yeah.
95%.
That would be some fucking nice poetic justice, huh?
Hospitals, 70% are gone. So, stay where? Rubble. As of 2 months ago, it was estimated that there were 50 million tons of rubble in Gaza. It was estimated that it would take until the year 2050 to just clear out the rubble, because the rubble is mixed in with all this unexploded ordnance, and it's mixed in with toxic chemicals like asbestos. So it would take 100 trucks a day. It would take till 2050 to clear it out. Now, 2050. Now,
You're pardoning New
after
Yorkers so they can vote for
Rafah
Cuomo?
and Gaza,
Really?
it must be at least 60 billion,
Well,
60
you know,
million
the opposite
tons
of that.
rubble. So you have no connection between the reality of what's been done to Gaza over the 2 years and this plan. We want everybody to stay, but of course you want to leave, we'll help you relocate.
How do they make sure
elsewhere.
they vote for him, though?
It's
This doesn't sound like the grounds for hope.
I don't see grounds for hope. I came across, I'm going to just see if I could find it.
Look at that face, Drew.
Line. This was from Abraham Lincoln, his second annual message to Congress. We
Oh,
cannot
Santos. Okay.
escape
Dude,
history.
Santos probably can't vote.
It will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest
Is
generation.
commuting a sentence the same as a
We cannot
pardon?
escape history. It will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. So I take from that, at bare minimum, and I recognize it doesn't save any life. At bare minimum, we can preserve the historical record of what these people have done. And that to me is something. It's not going to save a life.
That fucking Palestinian guy who died the other day, a journalist, they already deleted his shit from the Wayback Machine. So I don't know. I feel like they are different, right? So I wonder if that affects your ability to vote. Because commuting your sentence means the charge sticks, right? Like the charge doesn't go. I think a pardon, the charge goes away. Commuting the sentence, you just get out. Ex-felons can vote. In New York, they can't. Okay, I was going to say. Huh. Do you think he's going to, like, escape somewhere? If I was him, I'd be going back to Brazil or wherever the fuck he's from. I think it's new. It just came out today. Alright. We had a no questions asked, so we have to watch this.
Alien situation just got
The
way
alien
stranger. We
situation?
got Brandon Biggs, the same guy who predicted months prior to it happening. He's now talking about 3-Eye Atlas actually being an alien mothership, and he gives details on what's about to happen.
And that's what's going to make everybody freak out because they're going to see it moving across
That,
the ocean.
one of the famous remote viewers, too, just said some shit. Her thing was kind of vague, but...
You understand? It's going to be something that's going to be on TV. It's going to move across the ocean, and people are going to freak out.
Then we got massive sightings happening up all over the
Yeah, that
place,
one in
and these
Peru
things
was
are
wild.
actually getting up close right now.
Low flying aircraft, possibly drones, out over the ocean, which it's hard to say how far out, but it's going to be a beast.
Pasada, tío.
What?
Hell no. You know this coming in November? Finally we see him.
Oh, it's Starlink. Oh, no.
Those ain't no candlelight junk.
Oh, it's a distraction.
What the fuck?
Whatever's going on, it's amping up really quick, and it's as if we're being left out in the dark without any information. And now we have this. It seems that any information on 3i Atlas has been
They changed
embargoed
that.
for
I think they made that 2026. I saw debunkers were mad at people talking about this.
74 years. So unless this thing actually lands on Earth, we're never getting to know what this alien ship is. Quite strange, isn't it? I mean, there's obviously nothing to do with aliens or UFOs, right?
Instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities, and it's not ours.
These are otherworldly things that are performing maneuvers that haven't been.
There's an entire disclosure movement happening with Marco Rubio admitting that the UFOs we saw last year, they're not ours.
Don't cite him. That doesn't make it more plausible, okay? He's like the least trustworthy person in Trump's administration. Of all the fucking, like, swindlers and fiends and scumbags, Rubio is somehow the least trustworthy.
If they're not ours, if they're not Chinese, are we talking about aliens? And is this why the disclosure movement is actually happening right now? Because whatever these things are, they're already here.
Yo, what the A former NASA engineer just claimed Earth is covered in trillions of invisible alien devices, and that there are hidden alien surveillance networks already operating across the entire planet.
The Villarreal thing, I don't think it's trillions, but it's definitely thousands of them, right? Which, again, if this was your planet of livestock, you know, this was your breeding stock, your stud farm, you know, you would monitor it like that, wouldn't you? My other theory is that it's you know, it's for consciousness. It's like a Wi-Fi extender for consciousness.
No sé si se
like
puede
5G
ver
for consciousness.
arriba del aeropuerto de la FAB. Acabo de salir y veo esas luces.
Whatever these things are, they started coming out of the ocean since November last year, and they're still massively coming out of the ocean all over the world.
Whoa.
And it just might be because of 3i Atlas. And the question that everyone is asking right now is 3i Atlas the mothership? And what are we expecting for the next few months? So let's begin with the basic, and before we get to the good stuff, let's take a look at the latest Chinese. Whatever these things are, these orbs, they're everywhere. And there's this guy, Blue Line Bow Hunters.
He always
posted a
has
video
people
a
I've
week
never
ago
heard of, by the way.
with this thermal camera, one of the most expensive thermal cameras you can get in the market. Look at what he caught in Pennsylvania.
Looking through a thermal under white hot. There's a truck.
I guess I don't spend a lot of time on Instagram.
Let's get our focus.
Nice truck.
It's a nice truck.
Okay. That truck is about 150 yards away. Okay. Now, that's the moon, and we're just gonna start scanning the sky because there's a lot of shit going on.
Tell me about it.
I can't see with the naked eye that I cannot explain. They're not bugs. They're not bats.
Where are they?
Here.
That's a plane.
That's what a plane looks like. Okay. And there's something next to the plane. I don't know what it is. Okay. There goes a shooting star. I think.
Dude, I love it when they do the false positives
that
first.
That was not a shooting star. I think that was a bug. But that thing following the plane.
But you catch my drift? That's out in front of the plane. And I don't know what it is.
I have to reference this every time,
the plane's
but
following
like,
it.
The thing, you know, the lawyer in LA, John, like every fucking one of, he just films random shit flying by and then watches it in slow-mo, and these little fucking dragon UFOs are in like most of the videos he films. Maybe that's because he's fucking, you know, like if he goes out there trying to capture them and they can read his brainwaves, right? That's something we've been talking about, right? Like we don't have a Ford Lightning here. It's interesting. We have F-150. You know, it's one of the theories that's like, you know, modern science currently, Silicon Valley is working on trying to read brainwaves from further away. And they've made progress, right? It used to have to be, you had to like fucking stick electrodes in your brain and then you could put them on your skull and then you could put less of them or whatever. I think they can read it from across the room now, right? What if they can read it from fucking orbit? So he walks outside with his camera thinking, I want to fucking see some UFOs, so they start showing up for him in the manner with which he wants them to. Well, I mean, that wouldn't be that, though. I mean, that would be him thinking it, you know? Like, I want to see some shit. I want to see some shit. I'm going to see some shit. There's going to be some shit. I'm going to make this video, and there's going to be some shit in it.
Yeah.
I mean, anything can read electronic field, can read EM,
They're all over
That's
the
not
place.
hard.
Can't see them with the naked eye.
Brainwaves is tough.
No idea what they are. But they're freaking...
Yeah.
See that one just turned?
They're,
It's turned. They're not bats.
The electrical activity is a lot
They're
less
everywhere.
than like a device,
Well, let's take a look. I think in the end of this video, right at the end of the video, he says they're not bats. It seems we have a triangular formation. And then towards the end, I think I see a bat or a bird. But we can zoom in and try to get that better. Let's take a look.
this is the Spirit Network thing, right?
So we would
how many
see
people
it
have
flapping its
phones
wings
pointed at the
if
sky
it's a
at any
bird.
time?
I don't see any flapping.
Yeah,
Tell me if I'm wrong. That's a great catch and one heck of a camera. Now this was in Pennsylvania.
It's like
and
a
I just
southern
heard
Pennsylvania. It's
about
weird.
massive sightings in
like a
Cleveland, Pennsylvania, and other
Pennsylvania
places.
accent
So I
mixed with
started
a southern
searching a bit
accent.
more. This is when I came across this video. This was taken on September 22nd.
Yep, they're here. The UFOs are in Cleveland. What the fuck?
I mean, that would explain Skywatcher and all too, right?
UFOs.
And Z5, the whole thing. And that's why I see, that's why that works when they have those big groups, because there's more brainwaves thinking the same thing.
Get a helicopter.
Okay.
Where are they coming from? Yeah, they gonna get that helicopter first.
I mean, it could be lanterns, something like that, but I'm not sure. The last one over there here, it was actually going pretty fast. It just came out of nowhere and it just started going
how would you
pretty fast.
isolate
Take a
his
look at
thing?
this. Look at that. That's not a lantern.
Helicopter first. The whole city.
Yeah, the chopper's probably surveilling
I
the
think
area.
they can
What
tell.
the
I
heck
think
are
when you
these
look at the
things?
sky and you think really hard
Okay, so this
about
was on
wanting to see
August
UFOs,
15th.
I think the motherfuckers can see
Again,
that.
lots of these things.
Nah, no bullshit.
Yeah, moving.
Right here in Chicago, we are in the shop. What the
In Chicago.
I never see anything.
There be a lot of weird shit over here.
Same thing. It's the same thing.
Whoa.
They're always outside recording shit, showing me shit. It be hawks and eagles over there. It be all kinds of
What the fuck is
moving in
that?
alignment at the same time. You see what I'm
I mean, that could be planes going to land,
And I'm hearing sirens.
like far away.
It's some back here.
Because the planes do kind of circle, they go, not a circle pattern,
Lady,
but like
whatever these things are, I'm beginning to think
take
that
the same
maybe they're not
track to the
from
airport.
here
There's like a
after all.
landing
I'm not sure
flight
though.
path.
It's the
They
same
go
thing in
down.
Cleveland. It's the same thing in
it
Pennsylvania.
looks like
There's something
they're-
strange I'm getting from these videos. Last year we were seeing more of the drones and some of these orbs.
Yeah, but don't they do what they tell them to do though?
Right now we're seeing less of the drones and
I mean, they
more
claim they can
and
force them
more
to land.
of these orbs getting up closer, hovering over people's houses, that sort of stuff.
Mira qué pasada, tío.
I mean, that's like the southwest side, I guess, right? I mean, damn, this looks like the same thing though in fucking Peru, or yeah, I think that's the Peruvian
¿Ves
one.
cómo baja?
That is wild. Ooh.
Hostia, se han ido.
So I'm thinking if these things are plasma orbs, whatever they are, coming out of the ocean, going inland, they're most likely going towards the woods, caves. Searching a bit more, I found this post on October 14th from Ranger H on Twitter. And this is one weird phenomenon that I think might be related to one of these things. He says, "We found a large live pine tree on fire. It had a perfect burned circle around it. There was no lightning in the area that day. It was burning super hot, and we heard what sounded like a cannon going off a few hours later." So he has a recording of this sound. And this is the video
the
where we
Chris
found
Bledsoe
this
tree
huge
thing?
circle around this tree with it on fire.
Oh wow.
That's weird.
So, wow.
How the heck does that happen?
I mean, that makes me think of...
That's a perfect circle around it.
You know, that looks like software. You know, like, it's like interacting with, like, the...
So the coolest thing is that they flew over the area with a thermal camera.
Like in the
This
Hunger
is what
Games,
they caught.
when they can, like, set the tree, the single tree on fire, turn it off.
That's a perfect circle.
You know?
Wait a second. Didn't the exact same thing happen to Chris Blatso, the guy who was kidnapped by aliens? Ah, exactly. 12 years ago.
This tree just spontaneously combusted in our backyard.
Yep.
This is so weird. And there's Emily coming home.
Yeah, I told Stephen to come out and look at it. It hasn't been thundering or lightning or none of
No.
Yep.
I don't even think it rained today.
For 2 days, how's it burning? It's been wet.
That's crazy.
We've all been standing out here looking.
I mean, I don't know.
Ran as fast as we could in the backyard. The tree just spontaneously combusted.
Yeah, I guess it could happen. But this was during the
It's
same
so
period in
wild.
which Chris was experiencing a series of strange things with his family. And they were saying that they were taken.
Wasn't he in jail for, like,
contacted
fucking
by
over,
aliens.
like, wounded
He
veterans?
explained to you he wasn't
Like,
there to harm you. He was only there to
veterans'
help
dogs
you.
or something?
Was there any other communication? Any other times that you saw them or experienced them?
2 nights later, these lights in the backyard again.
He, like, euthanized the guy's dog or something?
Far back right corner. And I went through that little opening you see. So I crawled, dragging that gun under these trees until I got about 20 feet from that orb, 20, maybe 30 feet. And the electricity from it, the buzz, the static, every goosebump on me was just tingling.
So I'm guessing that if those orbs have that much energy, it could easily cause that to one of those trees. Now keep in mind that Chris Blatso's experiences are scary, but at the same time he talks about beautiful things. So I guess you'd have to watch his interviews. Now going back to this post made by this ranger, where was this? Okay, so this is...
It's in the same sort of area as Bledsoe, actually.
Yep. Pretty close to the coastline.
I mean,
I'm
it's
guessing
pretty
whatever
close
this
to
thing is
Bledsoe's
came from
house,
over
too.
here.
I wonder if it's a
Somehow landed
regional
on that tree.
phenomenon.
This is really weird. Let's see what else we
Like,
can
you can
find. So this
somehow
was in
burn
the end of
even while
September,
wet.
just a month
So
ago.
nothing else catches on fire. Everything else
Notice
is wet,
coming in
but that
November.
single tree has some like waxy
It's the same
polymer or
thing.
whatever, and it keeps it from
Finally,
getting
we
wet, so
see
it can
'em.
combust in the right conditions.
Those ain't no candlelight joints. Those are joints that I just saw that they just posted out in Florida. Yeah, see the plane?
I'm not saying that's what I think. I'm just saying that's the thing. It could be. I mean, something like that.
Where is this?
That's exactly how they
Like a
look
rare
flying
fungus that
over.
grows on.
Don't be surprised if this video get deleted out your phone, bro.
Yeah, but where? So you got this one. This is actually recent, October 12th. A man in Peru, recorded various lights hovering in the sky over the capital of Lima. Like I said, this is in the coastline. Check this out.
No sé si se puede ver.
Yeah, I can see them.
Arriba del aeropuerto de la FAP. Acabo de salir y veo esas
I
luces.
mean, I'm not sure what purpose
Wow.
humans would have for doing something like this.
Gone.
You know, just like randomly buzzing Peru. You know, like what?
Solamente quedan 4 o 5
I can think of a
rojas.
couple of reasons why, you know, NHI would want to do this, right? But I can't really think of why, like, you know, the Americans or the fucking Russians or whatever would want to do
Apareció
this.
más ahora. ¿Qué tal? Ya se desaparecieron.
Nothing.
Yeah, something like that.
What's really weird about it is that there are no droning sounds coming from these
What up,
objects.
dude?
Last year
We
we
got
had
a
the
game
drones,
as
we
a
could
10
hear
tomorrow,
them.
so
It was a
we'll
little bit
cut out
different than a
early.
normal drone, but we could hear them. These orbs, no sound at all coming from them. So searching a bit more about the massive sightings that have been happening in Pennsylvania. So this was on September 22nd, and these pictures.
This is September
wow.
though. I mean, this is so far back.
That's definitely not a plane.
I guess it's good that he like, you know,
if
gets
that's
the
a
good
drone,
ones from the
that's
last
a
month.
huge one.
You know, like, you know, Chode's got that new shit.
So this video was taken on October 9th. pretty close to the coastline in California. Take a look at this.
I don't know if you see this, guys, but there's like 3 lights up there. I have no clue what the that is. That shit look like a UFO, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, I'm driving.
3 of the orbs.
Yeah, look at that. What the is that? What is that?
Maybe they...
Yeah, these things are absolutely everywhere and pretty close to the coastline. Yeah, we got 3 days ago. We got this one coming from this user on Reddit.
You know, it's like
Serious
a,
UFO
it's like
spotted in
a,
Oregon. Pretty similar.
an exotic vacuum
And I
object
bet this is
that like
in
grows
the,
a shell.
Yep, Seaside, Oregon.
And turns
So
into a flying saucer.
we'll be looking at something like this. Funny formation here. It's just like something happened in the past, and there was a city or something massive built.
Given that
here,
parameter,
just went underwater.
maybe
Okay, going back to the
when they
side.
sync up in a triangle shape like that, it's
It
a more
stopped and then-
efficient
oh,
way to like
I see
gather
it.
resource.
Stopped
You
and then
know,
started
I see it, I
Or,
see
like,
it, I see it.
That's it.
You know, like the one guy went and got, because I think they go collect
Oh my gosh, it stopped.
different elements too. That's why they go to the volcanoes all the time.
Wait.
I think they go down there and get sulfur and shit. You know, like arsenic, and
that's crazy.
Use it to make
Don't turn the light on, don't move. Look at it.
That is crazy.
alloys.
So on
Aluminum
October
alloys or
16th, we
whatever the
got
fuck
this
it's made
video
out of.
coming in from Think Tank. I'm not sure if he's the original uploader. He says, Tic Tac UFO over Metro Detroit. Let's take a look at this. Wow. What?
So like the volcano guy and the ocean guy and the prairie guy, they all go sync up and then they trade all their booty. Yeah, they trade their hull.
Wow. What is that? You gotta be kidding me. What is that? That actually looks like a disc.
Balloon.
Yeah, I don't think that's Metro Detroit. So we got this coming in October 14th, West Coast, California, again over the ocean. Oh my
Whoa.
gosh.
That's interesting. Did that just drop like that?
What? Yeah. This type of rain or storm always gives me the creepy vibes. What are those things? That's insane. If this is a real video and it actually looks like it's insane. So let's just say these things are Chinese drones.
What?
That it's advanced human technology.
What the fuck is...
What about 3 Atlas? What is it about this alien comet that the closer it gets, the stranger it becomes?
Grab your friends, grab the dates, grab your tinfoil hats, because an alien spaceship is going to be in our skies come end of November, beginning December. Beginning of October, 3i Atlas has officially been hidden from view for us here on Earth as it passes behind the sun, only to emerge around the end of November, and be at its most visible point from Earth mid-December, at its closest approach to our planet. Every photo NASA has released of it so far has just been a blurry, pixelated blob that anyone can dismiss as just a comet, which it might be. But somehow, amateur astronomers are taking better pics of it from here on Earth. YouTuber Dobsonian Power used his backyard telescope to take this photo. This is reconstructed with AI. And I know this is AI. It's far from accurate, but
yeah.
Damn. And why is this still more clear than anything NASA has given us with their billion-dollar...
That's a great question.
Alleged leaks from European astronomers showing internal data that is not congruent with that of a comet, who also admitted the is intentionally covering up the truth of 3i Atlas.
Wait, come on. That kind of sounds
I know,
ridiculous.
but it also
then you
sounds
have
true,
this
man. Yeah, dude.
Bizarre 74
Oh my
year
god.
embargo, and we have
NASA
this
hasn't even fucking said
coincidence
anything
that's
because they've been
happening
shut
with
down.
the
Dude.
Satellites all over the world
Shit's
shutting
going
out
down,
before
man.
taking any
China
pictures
hasn't
of this
said
thing.
shit either.
We had a shut
What the
down.
fuck, China?
No pictures from
Dude, it's on, baby.
Another leaked
Oh,
NASA
fuck,
memo
man.
allegedly claims its acceleration is not consistent with Newtonian predictions, meaning it's speeding
Yeah,
up
they're
and slowing
panicking,
down
huh?
on its own, and that its surface appears to be made of a highly reflective composite material. Professor Avi Loeb also revealed the object is glowing from the front rather than from behind, as is expected.
There's also this guy, Brandon Biggs, if I'm not mistaken. He's
Yeah,
doing these
holy
crazy
shit.
predictions that 3 Atlas is possibly an alien mothership. Now, we will find out in a few weeks more about 3 Atlas. But the strange thing about it is the drones, the orbs, disclosure, everything is happening pretty fast, and this is what I'm feeling. You're possibly feeling the same thing, your dogs, your cats, your pizza delivery guy, everyone. So the question here is, why now? What are these orbs? Why are we seeing thousands of them, and why are they going inland? And is Chris Bledsoe correct about his prediction in April 2026? And is it possible that this prediction is somehow connected with 3i Atlas, the alien drones or orbs? Or is this all just a coincidence? Is it possible that we're on the brink of discovering alien life?
Discovering? I mean,
leave a comment. What do you think?
Look.
Smash that like button, and I'll see you guys tomorrow or Sunday. This time, I'm serious. I'll see you then.
Yeah, I mean, if they're hostile, you know, it's going to be over pretty quickly, I think, you know? This guy's he's like a contrarian. I don't know, man. Look, the bunkers are not wrong about the idea that, like, you know, just based on the calculations or whatever, like, you know, it is, like, you know, species from different planets fucking linking up and all. Doesn't seem like that would be too common. So I feel like if, like, NHI, I think, I don't know, I think you got to go with, like, all right, if we determine that it's not, you know, it's not ours, right? I feel like just, you know, numbers wise, it's probably more likely that it's ancient humans or something, you know, or like somebody else from our solar system. I don't know. I feel like we have no idea about the history of the planet and the solar system. I think it could have been going on for millions of years, and we just have no, like, can't tell the difference. And all of our models are based on the idea that it was like a steady progression over time. Like, it's not, it doesn't account for like catastrophic events or like, you know, resets or whatever. I mean, if they're flying a giant asteroid ship, you know, like, that's, they're probably pretty badass, but I mean, if they were just coming to destroy us, they could have fucking thrown the rock at us and then left, but it doesn't look like that's what happened. I don't know, maybe the rock is aiming for us, and they just can't, you know, it's gonna like fucking, it's gonna like turn on the thrusters one more time when it gets close. You know, it's gonna like fucking get a gravity assist around the sun and then fucking slam into us. Like if they wanted to fucking destroy us, they could have done that without coming here. But like I said, we don't know if they're in there or not. You know, they could just be, like, the thing's fucking weird, but it could very well be a projectile, you know? What do you mean? Throwing a rock at us is the easiest way, I think. Right? If they wanted to destroy us, yeah. That would be the easiest way. A fucking massive fucking comet, like, or, you know, non-comet, whatever the fuck it is. We might be doomed, Joe. And like I said, you know, we're like a livestock planet. They periodically wipe the slate clean and fucking start over again. You know? Like, that's the dark forest. You know, they let us get to here and then they destroy us. They monitor us. That's what the fucking orbs in orbit is, you know, the Spear Network. That's them gauging like when we're about to get dangerous, and then they take us out. I think that's probably unlikely.
Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team, and I am so glad that you're all tuning in, and as always, appreciate the company. So, we have a lot to cover in today's video, from some crazy UFO footage that has been captured and sent my way to other things happening out in space. The first of which I want to start out with is just a quick update on the enigmatic object currently blasting through our solar system known as 3I Atlas, which I'm sure many of you, most of you have heard of by now, but if you haven't, it is only the third confirmed interstellar object that we've ever detected entering our solar system from outside of our little bubble here, after Oumuamua, Comet Borisov being the first two. Then we had this newest one suddenly detected blasting into our solar system, and if you thought Oumuamua was bizarre, the way that this one has been acting is straight up bonkers, which has led many to believe that it is an alien craft and not a comet. And so yeah, as of this week, 3I Atlas officially passed planet Mars, and the reaction online has been wild. People are frustrated, suspicious, and honestly kind of freaked out, because
like, if Headband Lady's right, and it's the Anunnaki of some, you know, some sort of scenario, that's one thing, you know? But if it's like another species coming here for the first time, I don't think it's the Wraith, no. I mean, the Wraith humans aren't like tardigrades, they're like cattle, you know? Or like bears or something, you know, pumas. I don't think, look, if it's genuine aliens, again, that's not a scenario I've considered, right? Like, I've considered scenarios where it's like related to the UFO phenomenon. It's like one of the species who's doing the UFOs. I haven't really thought about the idea that it's like a brand new species coming here for the first time. I feel like I used to know what didn't he get drunk driving charge or something?
Not close enough by planet Mars for some of the best possible images to be snapped of this thing, whether it be the Mars rover on the ground, orbiters above planet Mars. They all pointed their cameras toward this thing, and right as we were supposed to get images, NASA went completely silent, and in fact pretty much shut down. And some of you have heard, no updates, no press briefings, no nothing. We do have some new data which puts it at over 33 billion tons, which is much bigger than Manhattan. And get this,
I mean, I hope Headband Lady's right,
any comet, you know, that we've ever studied. Then came what scientists are calling the, quote, fire hose effect. NASA's Swift Observatory picked up an insane amount of water blasting out of this space object, like it was venting energy. They literally described it as, quote, a fire hose running at full blast. So whatever's inside this thing isn't just melting from sunlight. It's acting like it's being powered
it's such a
from
debunker
within,
narrative.
and it's not behaving like a normal comet. You know, it didn't from the jump, and it's still not. So, you know, then the ESA, or the European Space Agency's Trace Gas Orbiter, managed to catch a glimpse of the object near planet Mars, just a glowing
got out of
orb
Guantanamo
with a faint tail.
I thought he had a drunk driving
after,
incident.
those images disappeared.
He had to go to rehab or
and
something.
right on cue, NASA froze all public updates, citing the recent government shutdown,
the age of disclosure
budget
thing,
cuts and things of that nature, which many believe
it's
is
been
a total
ready to go. It's the guy from whatchamacallit, he's a big time producer. The guy, what did he did the movie, the fucking VR movie. Anyway, it's like a big budget Hollywood fucking disclosure movie, and it's got a, like, you know, seems like it has a lot of revelations in it. You know, people have been talking about it for a while. I mean, he's the senator who's been in charge of the UAP stuff for a while, right? He's on the Gang of Eight. He, theoretically, he's briefed on all the black budget shit, like, he's running, you know, he's pretty decent on this subject. I mean, I know what he'll say. You know, he's already said some wild shit, right? They've all said wild. That's what I'm saying. It's like the information, like they've all said the stuff, like they've all said, like, you know, enough to make people change their minds about the subject if they paid any attention to it. They just don't even, just people just shrug. It's wild. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Like with UAPs, it's like I don't know. It's not. It's a weird dynamic because it's like the Pentagon versus Congress, right? So it's not. It's not the same dynamic, you know. You know, Congress wants their cut, right? It's like which I think that's what can happen too. I think if you start poking around here, they offer you money to go away. I think that's what usually happens. Like, I think that's what happened with Matt Gaetz. Because he saw some shit. He had a big...
As of right now, there's not too many updates. People have been posting their own images to Twitter. Their analysis of the images we do have. Backyard astronomers have been trying to capture this thing. Some have captured images of what look like a cigar-shaped object. Others have said that that is, you know, just an effect of the camera and the object moving as the exposures are being taken. Thus, instead of giving a picture of a single, you know, glowing orb, it gets stretched out to look like a cigar. But, you know, others aren't convinced.
This guy kind of sucks.
And while we don't have many updates this week, you know, besides the fact that it's spewing water,
it's
like
not
a
spewing
fire
water like a
hose,
fire hose, man. Stop. That's what the debunkers want you to say.
It changed color to this beautiful green hue.
Yeah, with no carbon in it.
It has a very unique chemistry.
It's got no carbon
it's
and it's green.
unusually rich in carbon dioxide and nickel, a chemical signature not commonly found in interstellar visitors. Then we have the unusual brightening of the object in mid-September, where data from the Comet Observation Database indicated that 3I Atlas was brightening faster than expected. A lot of weird stuff going on with this, and I promise you guys, if I see anything worth your time, I will definitely post updates here. So even when the mainstream news is saying that something about this feels different, you know, it definitely makes you get that feeling in your stomach, like something's off. So we will stay on it. Alright, so now I want to jump into some UFO footage. I haven't featured a whole ton of UFO clips lately, and that is what I want to do with the rest of today's video. So to begin, I got this first piece of footage that we're going to look at from an amateur astronomer who has been
The Pentagon is like, this stuff isn't part of the budget and all, right? Like the Pentagon just gets it. Like Congress is not getting their cut of it, right? It's like, you know, and it's not necessarily like they're trying to expose the, you know, like the human reverse engineering, like it, you know, whatever, you know, just like basic details, right? I wouldn't think about it like that. But like I said, the Pentagon has been boxing out, like, it's so few people have fucking, you know, access to this, right? It's like, you know, compartmentalized need to know bullshit is like effective at very much limiting it. So I think those guys are getting like fucking, you know, over the years, I'm sure trillions of dollars, but every year billions of dollars just fucking, you know, under the table or whatever. And you know, Congress doesn't want that. Congress wants to make sure they're getting their cut, and you know,
tracking the planets around the solar system for years. And he told me that he recorded this clip of planet Saturn about a year or so ago.
So I mean,
believe
like
it
Rubio's
was,
one
and
of the
that
few
while he
guys
didn't
who's like
really
briefed
see
on that
anything
part
at
of
the
the
time,
budget.
he recently rewatched the footage that he had captured of the, this beautiful ringed planet, and he noticed something very strange when he did that truly made him kind of go cold. And so in the footage, as you are seeing, Saturn is centered in the frame, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here at certain points to give you a better look. But Saturn's in the center of the
wanna
frame.
make sure their
There's
donors are
definitely
getting their
some
cut.
atmospheric wobbling and with the distance and all, but it's a pretty clear and steady image of Saturn. And then out of nowhere, we see this UFO. This, what looks to me like a small, bright object in comparison to Saturn, that
sure
is,
it's not a moon?
that slides suddenly into view from the darkness on the right side of the planet. And it just moves steady and fast and smooth as it flies over the rings and looks to actually pass behind Saturn's upper curve, where it then reappears briefly before fading into the darkness, all in about 2 seconds. So here is that clip with the slowed down versions of it already edited into the clip by the original uploader.
Did it dip down into the atmosphere? What the fuck? It looks like it dips down into the top of the planet. Huh. Wow. That's wild. Oh. That's fucking cool. That's fucking huge too, man. Look how big that thing is. Yowzer. Yeah, you can see it, like, it sucks up the atmosphere.
Yeah,
Holy
look how quick,
shit.
look how fast this thing blasts in from,
That's not how
from the
moons
darkness,
orbit.
goes over
A moon
Saturn's
would,
rings,
like,
passes
a
behind
natural object
Saturn,
couldn't
looks
get
to
that
pass
close
behind
to it
me,
without falling into
vanishes before it even reaches the edge of the other side of Saturn's rings. And, I ran this footage through multiple passes of an AI video enhancement software that I use called Topaz Video AI to try to clean it up. And it's clear to me that this thing goes behind the planet, not in front of it. And
It dips
if
out,
you watch
right?
it, and as I
It
loop
goes
this, you can even see what appears to be an obvious faint shadow stretching across the rings that are wrapping around the backside of Saturn as this object moves by exactly where you would expect
you would
a
expect
shadow
it
to
to,
be given the sun's angle. So, as this thing is moving across the rings,
really
notice
go
this
through the
dark
atmosphere
area,
there?
which appears to be shining against Saturn's
hard to tell where
most
it's
outer
passing
rings
by, right?
as they start to fade out into the darkness. I mean,
It's just
see
on the
for
far
yourself,
side of
this looks like
Saturn.
a clear shadow. I mean, you can see it. So yeah, I think now after reviewing this so many times, I don't think that this object is dust or camera noise. I don't think it's a pixel glitch. I've seen a ton of telescopic footage, and the depth and the motion and the shadows, it all lines up. And what I'm kind of still trying to figure out is how the object, it only becomes visible when it's over Saturn or its rings. We don't see it streaking across the darkness of space. We only see it as it appears, above the rings, and it seems to me like it's just being lit up by the planet's reflection of light. And then the second that it clears that area, it's gone again. It has no other light reflecting off of it, or at least not enough sunlight that it would be picked up by the video attached to the telescope. And furthermore, when the object comes out on the left side of Saturn from the viewer perspective, the more I loop it over,
like being so
the
close
more
to all
that
you
the
psychos
object
down
to
there.
me, because of the way it fades away, almost seems to turn to where it would be suddenly blasting away and behind Saturn, that then is blasting away from the camera. So, you know, and it wouldn't be the first time that we have seen and captured strange objects and craft-like things out near Saturn and Jupiter and other planets or moons. Tell me your thoughts on this down below. Really cool footage, and big thanks to the viewer who sent this in.
I mean,
lastly today,
maybe they had better
not to be
sense
the
of
least,
smell or
because
whatever.
this is
They
some
didn't
pretty
need dogs.
amazing footage here. We have a clip posted to Reddit that appears to show a very
Maybe the wolves
clear
were scared of them.
video of a fresh metallic orb sighting that occurred over Brisbane, Australia. The clip shows a metallic-looking sphere cruising low over North Ipswich, and I'm probably destroying that,
mean,
which
they
is
had
a
bigger
part of
brains than
Greater
us.
Brisbane, Australia. And they claim that it flew
Yeah, dude,
lower
they've been
than
fucking with
balloons
dogs
ever
for a
do,
while, I bet.
made no sound, and looked distinctly reflective, as you guys are about to see.
It was
So
probably
check
like
this out.
in, you know, like Snow White, where like just like the animals just like vibe with you, you know.
Wow,
You like
Indiana, good eyes.
telepathically linked to all the animals in the forest.
He looked up and he saw something. What is that? Frick. What is that? Maybe it's a flying saucer.
It's a flying saucer.
Where is it? Hang on. I can't see it.
I don't see. Oh. Damn, they got him down there too. Look at that. It's crazy they didn't fall off. Damn, dude. That looks like the Booga Spirit, isn't it?
That's it.
Inky do.
It's hovering there, isn't it?
Look.
Hell no. Maybe it's a flying saucer in me.
I mean, why would everybody all over the world tell the same story? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what? And it's not just like a similar story, it's like the same story.
That's why it's heading this way.
So I don't think it's a balloon, but it's that silver orb again, isn't it?
Yeah, it might be a flying saucer. Where's the flying saucer came up?
Indy, do you want to go get my other phone? I'll call Uncle Jason. See if he can see from his veranda. I don't think I can get a number on my other phone.
It's just hovering around this area.
Now, the op on Reddit added that this is actually the second time they've seen this object in that same
I don't
area.
know, man.
The
I'm with
first time they
Time-Mates.
thought that it might be a balloon,
Time-Mate,
and only
whatever his
after
name is.
seeing this one did they decide that no, this is something else entirely. Some speculate that it's an atmospheric lensing or a sun glare
aliens.
making a flake look round. You know, that was one of the theories on the Reddit post. Others leaned more seriously
man, you
into
can feel it in the
you know,
air,
that
dude.
thing's metal and it's
Like I said.
not floating like a balloon. And not everything is AI, not everything
That's
is
not
fake,
fake.
and until I see otherwise, I think this is a really cool and amazing piece of footage, and we've been seeing a lot of orb UFOs
everywhere.
lately
They're
in the last
everywhere,
couple
dude.
attention, but stood out to me for one
Cuomo
reason or
should
another,
not be able to
including
run.
just
Like,
a
he
hilarious
lost in the
moment
primary.
that I will
It's so
get to later
ridiculous.
that I just think it was so ridiculous. But let me first start with some quick polling here. Recent polling. This is from Fox News.
Fuck Columbus,
which
man.
I
They
found
should put
to
up
be
a statue to
interesting
Scorsese
because
instead.
it really shows Zoran Mamdani with a dominating lead. So Fox News up to this point has really been pushing Eric Adams. Eric Adams, of course, has now dropped out, so they're more for Curtis Lewa.
Yeah, he loves
or
the
Cuomo,
exactly. He
and
loves
it
the San
doesn't
Gennaro
matter to
festival.
these, at least the Fox News
He wants to
pollster,
make sure they
because
close down
Mamdani is
Mulberry
running away with
Street,
it
like,
since Eric
you know,
Adams
38
dropped out. He was
times a
already
year.
running away with it, but his lead has only increased. And taking a look at issue by issue, local economy
wants to
/
boost
cost of
funding
living,
for, like,
Mamdani running away with it,
Saint-
and really running away with it
Saints
on every
holidays.
issue: housing, taxes, even crime. He's leading. So it's at this point not even really close. That said, let's get to the first clip. This one has to do with experience.
This is not a job for a first-timer. Any day, you could have a hurricane, you God forbid, a 9/11,
my God, you sound like Eric Adams.
health pandemic. If you don't know what you're doing, people
You fucking killed all those old people.
And if we have a
oh my
health
God,
pandemic,
Cuomo,
then why would New Yorkers
can-
turn back to the governor who sent
Oh my
seniors to their
God.
death in nursing homes? That's the kind of experience that's on offer here today. What I don't have in experience, I make up for in integrity. And what you don't have in integrity, you could never make up for in experience.
That's an incredible line from Mamdani
He
there, of
used it in
course,
the
referencing the
primary.
fact that there was this massive nursing home scandal during the
Cuomo-
pandemic.
I cannot believe
under
Cuomo
Andrew
would
Cuomo.
go there, dude. You
Writing
fucking
here, this is
moron,
from the
dude. You
House Oversight
fucking
Committee. The
just
Select Subcommittee
lobbed
on the
it up
Coronavirus
there.
Pandemic held former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo publicly
Dude.
accountable for his involvement in issuing the disastrous March 25 directive, which forced nursing
He
homes
doesn't
to
even
accept
wanna do it,
COVID-19
man. He doesn't
patients,
want the job.
positive patients, and publicly exposed his
He's
efforts
just
to
doing
cover
it
up
to
the
save,
tragic
you know, to
aftermath
save
of
the
his
city
administration's
from
deadly
fucking,
decision,
you know,
including
Muslim communists.
their they made a deliberate decision in its accounting of nursing home deaths to exclude out-of-facility deaths as a way to
We
keep
could
the
have a
numbers down.
9/11 or a Great
Just-
Depression.
This debate over experience in any race is always incredible to me because it's not about just experience for experience sake. What matters is what did you do
Eric
with that
Adams
experience.
dropped out, so I don't have to be fairness
People
doctrine
currently
anymore.
are having a hard time being able
I
to
should be
afford to
playing
live.
Cuomo videos.
And that's at least partly under Andrew Cuomo's leadership as governor of New York. Why would you want that same person to now run the city of New York when clearly under his leadership things didn't work
Worst
out
governor
well?
of all time, and
So
he was
experience
notoriously
matters only in the case
fucking
of did you actually do
adversarial
something
to
with
the
your
city.
experience? Did you help people? If you didn't, then experience for experience sake doesn't mean anything. In fact, it's a negative.
He was constantly
Here's the,
fucking over de
next clip.
Blasio.
This is
like-
on Cuomo's criminality leading to wasted public
Yeah.
money.
Andrew Cuomo thinks it's all right to spend $60
Such
million
a great line, dude.
to fund his legal defense from accusations of more than a dozen women of
my
sexual
God.
harassment. But if I say we
Oh.
should spend the same amount of money on delivering cheaper groceries in this city through a pilot program, that is unfathomable.
Quick, David, I have a right to respond to that.
What are you going to say to
First,
that, man?
I did not bring those lawsuits.
You made the
That was
taxpayers
brought
pay to
by the
subpoena their
Attorney
fucking
General, which I
gynecologist
said was
records.
political.
Well, those
That's
are
what generated
by
the
individual
legal fees.
women, and some of them have still been making their way through the courts this year and
Yes,
now.
and I've been dropped from the case.
you haven't,
Not
man?
all of
You
them.
fucking
Yeah.
liar.
This is a great example of what happened a few times throughout the evening, where Cuomo claims, "Oh, all these accusations
'Cause I'm
were proven
Italian."
false." No, they weren't.
They
Why
just
do you
lie.
keep saying
They just
this
fucking
and-
lie.
and
They
thinking
just-
that you're getting away with it? Now, maybe look, this is like the
yeah.
Trump playbook. You say
Yeah, he's
something
such a
over and over
Trumpian.
and over again, and people begin to
Oh,
believe it.
man.
It's simply not the case. Also, lost in his answer there is the fact that he did indeed waste nearly $60 million in legal fees. New York taxpayer money. Absolutely insane. Let
I
me
mean,
get
that's
to
probably
the
a drop
next
in the
clip
bucket
here.
compared
This
to the
deals
NYPD's
with
legal
an
fees.
insane accusation from Andrew Cuomo about Israel and the incredible response from Mamdani.
The assemblyman just said in his response, well, it depends on occupation. That is code, meaning that Israel does not have a right to exist as a Jewish state.
The occupation is a reference to international law
Yeah,
and the
he just cites the
violation
law.
of it,
That's all he
which
does.
Mr. Cuomo has
He
no
just
regard for
shows how
since he
lawless
signed up to
these
be
fucking
Benjamin
criminals are.
Netanyahu's legal defense team during the course of this genocide.
Another incredible response from Mamdani. I'm going to get to more on that very fact that Cuomo did indeed sign up to be part of Netanyahu's legal defense team. There's an incredible clip from Cuomo discussing that. I'll get to that in just a minute. But on the idea of occupation, how Cuomo brings it up as it's supposed to be offensive that Mamdani's discussed the occupation.
It's cold.
This is a legal definition. The United Nations here calling on Israel to end the occupation. Are they being offensive in their discussion of this? How about this Israeli human rights group, B'Tselem, calling to end the occupation? This is from back in 2017. Are they being offensive? Do they want to end Israel because they're calling to end the occupation? Like, Cuomo was betting on you being stupid. That's what he's hoping for. The people that don't know anything vote. And I don't think he's doing too well because New Yorkers, I think by and large, are a lot more aware than Cuomo gives them credit for. But this gets to the insane fact that Andrew Cuomo joined the legal dream team led by Alan Dershowitz. So here is Cuomo discussing his support for Netanyahu.
And this is the moment when true friends stand up and shoulder to shoulder and fight for the state of Israel. And I am proud to be on the legal defense team for the Prime Minister against the arrest warrant at the ICC. And I am proud to stand against anti-Semitism.
All right, so two things stand out to me in that clip. One is just how proud he is to be defending a war criminal in Benjamin Netanyahu, who this is his ICC arrest warrant. I mean, that in itself really shows you the lack of character from Andrew Cuomo. But combine that with his next line about how he's standing up against anti-Semitism. The conflation of standing up for a war criminal with defending Jewish people, you could actually call what Andrew Cuomo is saying here to be anti-Semitic because of that conflation. The state of Israel does not equal Jewish people. You have two very different things here. You have a government in their war crimes that they have committed and Jewish people as a whole, which does not include the war crimes. But Andrew Cuomo thinks those things are exactly the same, so I must defend this war criminal. It's disgusting. And you have Alan Dershowitz, this is Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. He is the one that put this legal dream team together. This is the guy you're on the same side of? You think you're on the right side of history? Who's also, by the way, backing a pardon for Netanyahu? Like, it's the layers of just a complete lack of humanity throughout all of it. Andrew Cuomo comes off as such a sleazy politician, just speaking to whatever rooms he thinks he needs to speak to win an election, does not actually care about any of it. This is a guy that was born into a political family and took all the wrong lessons from it. Just wild stuff. Let me get to the next clip here. This is a complete left turn from this more serious discussion, but this is around top calls to 311. And only one candidate here was actually close in their answer.
Last year, 311 received 38 million contacts from New Yorkers, from calls to the website. Wanted to know if you had a sense across the 5 boroughs what the top 2 categories of complaints were. What do you think they were, Mr. Sliwa?
Potholes, constantly potholes. People's undercarriages ripped out, ball bearings, alignments.
Second one, top 2?
Rats.
Rats, okay.
I'm going to kill rats. Flooded with rats.
Mr. Cuomo, what do you think the top 2 complaints were?
Homeless and trash rats.
All right, Mr. Mamdani?
There was housing and noise.
Okay, so the answer is noise and illegal parking.
Only Zoran Mamdani was close to getting the answer right. To me, this clip isn't getting a whole lot of attention, but it speaks to how much closer Zoran Mamdani is to the actual citizens of New York City than the other 2 candidates, Andrew Cuomo especially, where Mamdani got noise right, no one else got that, and heat and hot water, which I guess could fall under housing, is actually
that's
third.
calls to the
and if
housing
you combine
department.
maybe
He's
that
right.
block driveway, which I also imagine would be more, that's a housing thing, closer to second place here. But Mamdani is more aware of the day-to-day lives of New Yorkers than Andrew Cuomo is, and that came through very clearly in that answer, not to mention the whole debate. But let me get to, this is the next clip. This is a continuation of the question around 311. This is around noise, and only one person answered the question.
First of all, is the residential one, that's the neighbors and the loud music. And the second one is a street or sidewalk, everything with the loud construction and workers outside. So, Mr. Cuomo, as mayor, what can you do to help the city that never sleeps get a little bit of rest, Mr. Cuomo?
Yeah, look, I think if the 311 system worked well, if there was actually contact with people, I think New Yorkers would get it. I think New Yorkers would be responsive.
How would you quiet a little bit the city that never sleeps?
In the outer boroughs, I see problems all the time, quality of life issues. 18-wheel tractor trailers, RVs parked everywhere. Garbage that's not picked up and collected.
Mr. Mamdani, your turn.
What we've seen is one of the biggest sources of noise in this city is from congestion. And with the implementation of congestion pricing, we've actually seen noise complaints drop in the congestion zone. And so I would continue to find ways to ensure that we have reduced congestion across the city. And one of the ways is by making the slowest buses in America ones that are fast and free, so that New Yorkers can not only live a life of excellent quality of life, but also be able to get around this city without having to worry if they have $2.90 or soon to be $3 in their pocket, which is already out of reach for 1 in 5 New Yorkers.
That answer, again, this is one that isn't getting a whole lot of attention, but it really shows you the difference between all of the candidates. Only one person there, Zoran Mamdani, actually both understood the question and had an answer. Andrew Cuomo, I don't even know what he was talking about improving 311. That was part of the previous Q&A. Why did you insert that into this question about noise? Curtis Lee was talking about 18-wheelers and RVs parked everywhere. What does that have to do with anything? And then Mamdani actually addresses the freaking question. It shows you the difference between all of these people. Someone that actually understands citizens and their issues, and two others that are living in their own world. Let me get to the next clip here. This is incredible. Andrew Cuomo is asked about why he failed in the primary. Did he learn any lessons from that? And here is his response. And where this goes is just wild.
What lesson did you learn, and what do you feel it said about you, something you did wrong, something that you need to change about yourself?
Yeah, I think in the primary campaign, I did not do enough on social media, which is a very effective medium now. I think the Assemblyman did do a better job on TikTok and social media than I did during the campaign, and that has changed now. I've also increased my activity significantly, but my agenda is exactly the same. I am the Democrat, although I'm not on the Democratic line. He is a Democratic socialist, called Barack Obama evil and a liar, didn't vote for Kamala Harris. Fight and deliver is, I will fight for people, I will fight the bureaucracy, and I will deliver results. New Yorkers need the mayor to get something done. This is all words and theories. I am a manager who can actually get it done.
It's so you have to have fucking exact change.
Reflecting on the most that you need to be on social media more. Was there any other deeper lesson that you learned?
Between the two campaigns, social media, more accessibility.
Okay.
I just have to say, it's been an hour and 20 minutes of this debate, and we haven't heard Governor Cuomo say the word affordability. That's why he lost the primary. That's why he'll lose the general election. And you can lie all you want, but the truth is, I voted for Kamala Harris. I'm the only candidate on this stage to have the endorsement of Kamala Harris, and I'm not the one who's funded by Bill Ackman, who called Kamala Harris unqualified to be the vice president of this country.
Okay, may I respond?
Yes, brief response, please.
There are a lot of New Yorkers who support me. And there are a lot of Jewish New Yorkers who support me because they think you're anti-Semitic.
That absolutely killed me the first time I watched that. I was laughing out loud. Andrew Cuomo, you haven't talked about affordability. Well, you're an anti-Semite. What? What does that have to do with anything? What are you talking about? The absolute desperation that Andrew Cuomo has on display here is remarkable. He has no actual retort, and his answer is terrible. Your self-reflection after losing the primary was that you didn't use TikTok enough? Really? Not that maybe you didn't speak to the actual issues that New Yorkers were feeling, like cost of living obviously being the big one there. That wasn't part of your thought process? No, I should use TikTok more. I should do some more dances. Like, what?
Unbelievable,
It's so absolutely stupid. And on the issue of Jewish photos, just to put this this stupid line to rest. In these times, is a great piece here. Why does the New York Times keep ignoring polls showing Mamdani leading with Jewish voters? So several polls have showed this. Two recent polls show Mamdani's well ahead with Jewish voters. The first, a July Zenith research poll, shows Mamdani with a 17-point lead with New York Jewish voters. The second poll, also from July, by GQR Research, which was commissioned by an anti-Mamdani pro-Israel organization, New York Solidarity Network, found Mamdani leading with Jewish New Yorkers by 12 points. Even an anti-Mamdani group, their own poll still shows Mamdani leading with Jewish voters. Yet the bullshit continues. And they just go on to write here, Times has cited GQR Research several times over the years and frequently uses GQR's data in their upshot election forecasting model, yet for some reason aren't showing or discussing those polls about Mamdani. And while Zenith Research is a fairly new polling outlet, its founder, longtime pollster Adam Carlson, is frequently quoted in the Times. So it really goes to showing how this narrative
Jewish
has been,
voters. That's wild.
Media organizations have been trying to craft this narrative around Mamdani, and it's simply not worked because voters actually, they know what they see with Mamdani. They know who this man is. He's been in New York for a while, been in politics for a while. They know he's the real deal, and they're not being fooled by any of this bullshit. Last clip here. This is just a hilarious, ridiculous moment. It was so absurd that it really goes to show the absolute desperation from the other candidates.
Every parade has the right to exist in New York City. I would ask
David?
you,
Thank you.
Mr. Mamdani, would you protect the Christopher Columbus statues that exist here in the city?
I'm telling you, my focus is on affordability. I'm not thinking about
Well, you're not answering the question.
Thank you.
They're not answering the
He
question.
gave the finger to the Columbus Day statue.
that issue's come up
That's what we
earlier
call
in
it,
the debate. All right,
disgraziato.
That's right, Mamdani.
It's anti-Italian discrimination.
Thank you so much, debate, for allowing me the opportunity to bring in the Sopranos. They're attacking him over statues now.
What did he call it?
That's how desperate things have become. Incredible stuff. So let me know your thoughts on this debate on Mamdani's performance, on Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, what you expect or hope out of this race. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and check out some of the other videos I have on this channel.
I like that kid. You can live it all. Nice guy. Nothing good on here. Go over here.
We want to obviously turn to another one of the critically important world issues, and that is the ongoing aftermath of the ceasefire in Gaza. And we are very, very honored to be joined for this conversation by Dr. Ramzi Baroud, who is a journalist, author, and editor of the Palestine Chronicle. Dr. Baroud, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, great to have you with us. And, you know, I think obviously seeing some of the ceasefire violations by Israel and others, the thing that's on a lot of people's minds is what's the stability of the end of the conflict? Will the war restart? And I mean, I'm certainly curious your thoughts on that. But I think the other aspect to this that seems important to me is also how we frame the issue of the ceasefire, you know, not as like Donald Trump being the great peacemaker, but the inability to use war to accomplish the goals they wanted in crushing the Palestinian people, which seems to, you know, that the difference in framing seems important to understanding, you know, how this may move forward in the coming days.
Absolutely. I think this is a fundamental realization what just has taken place in Gaza. In fact, so much propaganda effort, so much, so many talking heads right now throughout the Middle East, notwithstanding, but throughout Western media, are trying to push us to actually think of what happened in Gaza is stalemate at best, but also somewhat victory for Israel. But this is not at all the case. We know exactly what Israel wanted to achieve in Gaza. They haven't been shying away from talking about it. They wanted to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. Netanyahu called it voluntary migration. Others, threatened to drop a nuclear bomb on Gaza. They're not actually very good with propaganda, the Israelis. This whole idea that the Israeli Hasbara is so powerful, it is not. It is just because nobody is talking about it in mainstream media, and you don't see lots of Palestinians and pro-Palestinian voices countering these claims and allegations in this kind of nasty racist language. But at the end of the day, that's what they wanted. They wanted to ethnically cleanse Palestinians, and they wanted to build settlements and turn Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East. For whom? For Israelis and for Americans, and where Jared Kushner is going to come and hang around at the Gaza beach where my refugee camps is located, almost totally destroyed, by the way. Did they achieve that? Not at all. They wanted to disarm the resistance. Did they achieve that? Not at all. What actually happened in Gaza is that for the first time in the history of this so-called conflict, do Palestinians not only teach Israel a very painful lesson, they actually prove that firepower alone cannot determine political outcomes. This is unprecedented. Yes, Hezbollah has done that in Lebanon. Yes, Ansarullah have managed to do that in Yemen. But you have this kind of new type of model of resistance. And I'm not talking, when I say resistance, by the way, I'm not referring to guns and bullets. I mean, the Palestinian Authority has supposedly 60,000 soldiers or security officers or whatever you want to call them. Not a single bullet was fired at the Israeli army. To the contrary, they are fired at dissenting Palestinian political voices and activists in the West Bank. So this is not about firepower. It's about the will of the people. The Palestinian people have once again proven to be the most important and central factor in determining the future of Palestine and the very stability of the Middle East. This whole idea that Arabs can normalize with Israel at the expense of Palestinians, and in the words of Jared Kushner, Palestinians can either put up or shut up, that turned out to be a false theory. It didn't happen, and it will not happen. The Palestinians are still in Gaza. They are still strong, and they are still fighting. And this is something is extremely infuriating for Israel, and in fact very worrying, not only for Israel and the US, but also for Arab regimes who do not want to see a strong Palestinian party that is capable of standing up to Israel, and by extension, standing up against all sorts of oppression underway in the Middle East.
No, I think that's such a great point, and I think it's one of the aspects that maybe has flown under the radar a little bit, certainly of Western media. I mean, even when you looked at the negotiations themselves of whether to accept the deal, you had Hamas saying, well, we're consulting the other factions, releasing the photos with various different groups, and now saying that they're open to many different types of solutions to what comes next, but it has to be a national solution, it has to be a Palestinian solution. So holding out the idea of a more unified Palestinian front and exercising some level of sovereignty over Gaza, I mean, that feels like an important kind of red line that they've drawn that, undoubtedly is upsetting Israel, America, and many others, but also feels like an important aspect of what comes next.
That's right. I mean, in fact, I have always argued that Palestinians are united. This myth, that the myth of Palestinian disunity, the myth of Palestinian fragmentation, I've always argued to the contrary. Palestinians are very united. It all depends on how you define the word unity. How do you find common ground between those who resist and those who collaborate, between those who stand against the enemy and those who are working with the enemy to oppress the people? There is absolutely no common ground there. But the unity of the Palestinians is the unity around their resistance, the unity around their steadfastness, their sumud, a unity to stand up to Israel, to the Israeli colonial project, to Israeli apartheid. That is something that we all have in common, from Gaza to the West Bank to East Jerusalem to Palestinians in the Shatat, in diaspora as well. And we have never really seen that idea. I mean, it's very vindicating, although it's vindicating at a very high price, is that now we see what Palestinian unity looks like. When we see the prisoners leaving, whether those who came to the West Bank, those in Gaza, those who were deported to Egypt, and you see the people around them celebrating them despite of the horrific price that was paid of the blood of innocent children and men and women in Gaza for that freedom, but they still prioritize the freedom of their prisoners, of the people, over all the sacrifice. I mean, this is unity at work. And again, Israel did everything in its power to break the unity of the Palestinians. They tried to turn the people of Gaza against each other. They tried to create all sorts of ultimatums, putting pressure on this party and that party, but the unity never faltered, despite the fact that 92% of the entire Gaza Strip has been destroyed. If this is not a testament to the resilience, strength, and the unity of the Palestinian people, I really don't know what is.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, I mean, no one has a crystal ball here, but I mean, I wonder what you think about some of these to me, seemingly fantastical plans that are being cooked up in Washington and Tel Aviv. Tony Blair as a colonial governor and international forces, although no country seems to really want to be willing to, 100% commit. I mean, it seems that there's a lot of ideas out there for some, neo-colonial structure, but in reality, it's going to be difficult to find something that can work here that doesn't have a lot of Palestinian sovereignty at the core.
I think Trump thinks he'll get a
Absolutely.
collaborator government.
How can they impose such a pathetic figure, a hated war criminal like Tony Blair, on the Palestinians in Gaza when they have failed to impose any of their objectives or conditions on them over the course of 2 years, at the price of the very destruction of Gaza? And they failed. They failed to achieve anything. Do you think really that the Palestinians at this point, after all of these sacrifices, would be willing to have another colonial overlord, some other, white British colonialists who tried to colonize Iraq and failed, to come back to Gaza and become the governor of Gaza? I mean, this would be the ultimate humiliation. I don't think any Palestinian is willing to even entertain such an idea. I remember one of the leaders of the various political groups in Gaza referred to him as the son of the devil. I don't think they are going to be working with the son of the devil anytime soon. And by the way, they've tried this. I mean, Jared Kushner has been shopping for any country, and I'm talking about Trump's first term in office. Jared Kushner spent so much time trying to cancel UNRWA, the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency, to force Jordan to accept millions of Palestinian refugees at a price, to completely dismantle the entire Palestinian National Project, and they failed. Now he comes, Jared Kushner with Tony Blair, thinking, well, you know what, maybe we can leverage medicine and food for political concessions. I mean, it doesn't get lower than this. There are thousands of Palestinians trapped under the rubble of Gaza. Thousands among them are children. And then they come and say, you know what? Hey, we are happy to help you dig up the bodies, but you have to make few political concessions for us, because we are still thinking that there's a potential for a Riviera in the Middle East here. I mean, the world has to be even more enraged than they already are over the genocide, because this is genocide and humiliation, and the Palestinians would not accept either.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a great point. And yeah, history. I remember after the Oslo Accords, they said that Gaza was going to be the Riviera and going to be this great thing. And we see how it ended up. And I guess, to
fucking
maybe close the circle
like
on this a little bit. I mean,
years.
it feels that the issue of the ultimate solution, of course, everyone has been talking about the two-state solution, all the European countries, everyone trying to bring that back, which also seems to be sort of fantastical and in the past. And we're seeing maybe more starkly now than ever that, democracy and self-determination is basically the only way this can be resolved. Any colonialism and apartheid, it seems that any other solution just seems like a sideshow at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, this whole, the carrot of the two-state solution has been going on for such a long time. They played this game with the Palestinians, and by the way, well, yeah, sure, we will give you a state, but that state will lack physical contiguity, and that state would have
saw
to
on Twitter the other day. It was like 4 Bantu stands. It was like 4
and you will have no
quadrants split up by the Israelis.
or you will have no actual defense forces. You will have no control over the borders, and so forth and so on. And sadly, they did in fact find a Palestinian leadership that was willing to work with them, and they did. They made all sorts of concessions from 1993 with Oslo all the way until the entire project faltered, but the Palestinian Authority was kept in place because it served the purpose. And what was the purpose? ensuring that Israel's security is intact. Thus, they turn the Palestinian leadership into a line of defense for the very settlements, the very colonies in the West Bank that is there, destroying the prospect of any Palestinian sovereignty in that region. And now they are coming back. Same old idea. No enforcement, no pressure on Israel, no sanctions. To the contrary, the conditions are imposed on the Palestinians, who are barely emerging from a genocide in Gaza. And they are also telling them, you have to behave yourself. You have to behave in a certain way and expect very little from this state, and maybe, potentially, perhaps, it could happen. But by the way, we cannot force Israel to do anything. This is nonsense. It's utter and absolute nonsense. They are just buying time, and they are trying to diffuse the tension in their own societies. I'm talking to you from Rome right now. Rome is in a state of intifada for Palestine. I've never seen anything like this, having 2 million people protesting 2 days in a row, basically shutting down the entire country. Consciousness over Palestine has become the subject of discussion at every layer of society, in places like Italy, in places like Spain. So all of these recognitions are really meant to try to diffuse the tension and to tell the masses that don't worry, we are on it, we are going to try to help in any way we can. But in actuality, they are still feeding Israel with all the military, with all the weapons and the munitions and the military contracts needed to ensure that the Palestinian people are being duly exterminated in Gaza.
Well, let me just ask you that on a final note, and I'm glad you mentioned Italy. Is I think a lot of people, I mean, we've seen this worldwide movement of solidarity with Palestine, and I think some people are thinking, well, okay, now there's a ceasefire, you know, is it over essentially? But I think the point you're making is that for those who want to see an end to this, you know, unbelievable genocidal and apartheid policy, now is not the time to stand down from the point of view of mass movements, just because there's
You're not going to give Trump credit
place.
for the ceasefire.
Absolutely. We are finally reaching our critical mass.
Dude,
we
Siri
are
heard
there.
me
We
say
have
it.
been
Yeah,
waiting
exactly.
for what we
You're gonna
call
give me.
our South Africa movement for decades. And we are there. And we cannot leave the square at this point because there's no peace plan.
No
here.
neck goblin.
You know, Trump did not resolve an
DHS is
issue that
already
has been
tracking me
going
down.
on for 3,000 to 5,000 years, he said, at the Knesset. No sense of history whatsoever. We cannot buy into this, you know, jargon. In reality, now it's our opportunity to mount the kind of global mobilization and solidarity that would finally isolate Israel and make Israel the pariah state that it deserves to be. Only when we achieve that, we can start getting political concessions. If we go home now thinking, well, the genocide is over, maybe we can coexist with military occupation and apartheid and racism and apartheid walls and colonial settlements. Well, you know what? Maybe there's a tiny little lull. Maybe there's a bit of a quiet. Maybe the rate of killing is going to be reduced slightly. But at the end of the day, it's going to start all over again. If you care about Palestine, and if you care about justice, you care about human rights, then this is the moment that you actually continue marching.
That's
as
the political
opposed to going
spectrum,
back
is like how
and
quickly you want to
thinking
kill them.
that the whole thing is over.
Dr. Ramzy Baroud, editor of the Palestine Chronicle, thank you so much for joining us here on the Freedom Side.
Thank you.
I wish I was on the freedom side. This is like the unfreedom side.
We begin today's show looking
No
at
freedom
Gaza.
side.
President Trump has issued new threats.
Bosnia's hidden pyramid. Let's go, baby. We got bodies, y'all. We got bodies. John Mack.
Today is October 17th, and I have another message from the aliens.
I'm an interdimensional communicator, and today I'm in Sedona.
Oh, shit.
Getting ready to spend some time with some of you tomorrow and on Sunday.
Wow.
Earlier today, I had a live channeling session, and Alien Hercules.
Dude, what if she like brought the comet to us?
Yeshua came
Like,
through to
no,
confirm
we're gonna be extinct because
First,
of her.
regarding 3i Atlas, they confirmed again, it's not a comet. It is a spacecraft. Well, technically, it's a primary spacecraft plus a fleet of auxiliary ships, and it's not coming anywhere near Earth this month. It does not.
Yeah, he's a hero. He deserves it.
Reptilians, and it's not going to remove anyone from Earth. It's going to stay on the other side of the sun, and it's going to do a few things for us. First, it's going to act as a
lock up Pete
counterbalance
Hegseth
as the motherships come in close to Earth. Second, it's going to work in collaboration with Swan, which is also not a comet, by the way. It's not a spacecraft, but it's not a comet. They describe it as like a small planet.
Like
it's
a
also
small
going to assist with
planet,
that
dude.
counterbalance.
That's kind of
Third,
terrifying.
3i Atlas is working to raise our frequency.
Yeah, my frequency
individually
is
and
high
as a
as
collective.
fuck, girl.
It's working with the sun somehow to transmit codes to us.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's beyond my human understanding. But the
Dude.
point is, there is nothing
I'm scared.
to be afraid of regarding 3i
Oh my
Atlas
God,
or
dude.
aliens
Yeah.
in general.
Exactly.
Now,
She
the
must have
second
so many
area of
fucking
focus of today's
eyes.
live was that fictional conflict between Christianity and aliens. Alien Hercules and Ascended Master Yeshua himself want us to know that
Yeah, told
both
you.
are true.
Told you all
God
religions are
and
true. I told you.
Angels
It's
and
all
the
true.
heavenly realm, that's all true. There is no correct
Yeah,
religion.
they're all the same. They're all
and
good.
most organized
Except,
religions
you
here
know,
on
they're
Earth
not.
get a lot of
Yeah.
things wrong. But unity consciousness and the idea of a benevolent creator God or a highest power, that is all real. And the galactic realm and aliens are real. It's all real. Furthermore, Yeshua,
Yeah, why
who
wouldn't
you
it
might
be?
know
Why would
as
we assume it was
Jesus,
fake?
wants
That's so
us
dumb.
to believe in aliens. He is
Duh.
among the ones that asked them to come help us. Here's a clip from the live
A capitalist
where Yeshua
lie.
himself
Another capitalist
is
lie.
sharing about aliens. This is like literally Jesus saying, I want you to believe in aliens. Yes. Welcome them with love. Yes. It's all part
It's
of
all
the same
love,
system.
baby. It's
Jesus
all love.
himself is saying, I'm only part of the story. Don't stop with me. I am just one chapter in a much bigger story. And every chapter can bring you closer to source. Yes. So there you go. Jesus, or Yeshua, as we know him, wants us to welcome the aliens
Wow.
with love. And in fact, he also confirmed that anything in the Bible that does not resonate with love is not the
Dude,
true
that's what do you mean? That's what,
Yeshua
of course, that's
or
what they would say. You
I'll be back
remember in the
again the
Old
next time they give
Testament
me
when we
another
were fucking
message from
motherfuckers
the
up? That's not true. You know? Like, you ain't never living some of that shit down, man.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I wasn't sure if you were going to reach.
Oh, it's Medi's defiant speech on Gaza.
What could Charlie Kirk's career have become had he left the pro-Israel cause? It was about time, given that the tide appears to be turning among younger Republicans, his base of support. Kirk was put into a difficult position, however, with regard to how much leeway he had to criticize Israel. In a conversation with Megyn Kelly, the two described how sensitive their pro-Israel friends were to mild and hardly controversial criticism of Israel's policies. In this exchange, the two merely suggest that Israel stop its campaign in Gaza, but only because they think it's best for Israel.
I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical
ridiculous.
Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat, literally the Jewish Sabbath. I
nerd.
host a person that I moderate the debate of, mind you, right? And I give equal time to Josh Hammer, equal time to a pro-Israel advocate, and my moral character is being put into question. Having Dave Smith or Tucker at my event, it is all of a sudden, oh, Charlie is he's no longer with us and all that. I said, wait a second, what do you mean? What does with us mean exactly, right? I'm an American, okay?
As we can see, Kirk is very pro-Israel here still. But Tucker Carlson claims that Kirk's worldview was evolving.
he believed that the war on terror had been a net loss for the United States, and it caused incalculable damage, not just economic and physical damage, but spiritual damage to the United States. It was bad. We got nothing out of it. We were only hurt. And he didn't want to see that again, and he felt very strongly about that. And, of course, I agreed. And so before that speech that I gave in July, we had a conversation about this backstage, right before I went on. And I was fulminating and getting all red in the face like I often do, to my shame. And I was mad thinking about this and thinking about the effort by the neocons in the United States to draw us in to another forever war with Iran. And I said, probably not going to talk about that. I'm not going to torture you. I know your donors hate this when I say that. And he looked at me, I'll never forget it, and said, "Go all the way.
Go all the way.
Do it. Go all the way."
Wow.
I said, man, a lot of things
Go
I can talk
all the
about.
way.
I don't
Wow.
even talk about that. And he said, "Do it." So I did it.
Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. Reading the talking point that apparently everyone, a bumper sticker that is for sale somewhere, I guess. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know what that means exactly, but how many Americans have been killed by Shia terrorism in my lifetime, which is 56 years? And then there's the drug epidemic, which has killed more than 1 million people during that same period. People I know. So you're telling me Iran is a bigger threat than the people peddling this garbage? I don't think so. Not where I live, it's not.
The ones who were offended by my speech, and there was a small, very intense group who were, tormented Charlie Kirk until the day he died.
Here.
2 days before he died, he
Yeah,
lost
man,
a
he's
$2
all
million
into crank shit, man. I think he's an Angels guy, isn't he?
To bring me to the next Turning Point conference in December.
Indeed, this
I
appears
thought
to be
he turned down
confirmed
the
by
money.
texts released by Candace Owens, which were
Jewish
verified as
donors.
accurate by Turning Point USA
I think that's what
spokesman
the
Andrew
OG
Colvett.
Republicans
That
call it,
was
though.
a text grab, a screen grab that I had shared with people. So
the
it
China
is
lobby.
authentic.
Kirk reveals in the text, as told by Tucker Carlson, that he had lost donors because he wouldn't boot Carlson from his planned America Fest event. The texts say he may have to leave the pro-Israel cause. You have to imagine what this would have done for the American right had he become more critical of Israel. We'll never know, will we? It would have been a no-brainer for Kirk to at least continue to open a venue for the generational debate on the U.S.-Israel relationship. The younger generation of Republicans are increasingly skeptical of Israel's impact on U.S. alliances and the role of the pro-Israel lobby on American foreign policy. Many young Americans are starting to realize that they have been lied to about the supposed benefits of this relationship. I'd argue that there's another lie that has been repeatedly drilled into the minds of generations of Americans. I think it potentially stops many Republicans, especially older Republicans, from letting go of their romantic attachment to Israel.
Hey everybody, due to the content of my videos, I'm not advertiser friendly, so if you want to support my work, consider becoming a patron for access to exclusive content and the GDF Discord server. I also accept donations. Thank you so much to everyone who has become a patron and donated. Love you all, thank you.
And that's the idea that Israelis are the safekeepers of Christians and Christian holy sites in Palestine. First, it's not as though Christians were spared the expulsion orders and massacres of the Nakba. To take one example, in October 1948, 12 Christians were summarily executed in the village of Aylabun.
واحنا قاعدين بده ينادوا على الشباب انت تعال انت تعال انت تعال حياة اخوي كان قاعد هيك بجنبي كان لابس ربطة ملقطة آخر مرة شفنا خلاص مفيش هيك
with the remaining residents expelled to Lebanon.
I want civilization to win. I want the West to win. I don't want the Islamo-fascist barbarians to storm the gates of Jerusalem. I want the holy sites protected.
Charlie Kirk's characterization, perhaps an ultimately unsuccessful bid to assuage his donors, belies basic facts about the history of Palestine. Muslim rule over Palestine, comprising some 12 centuries, was hardly barbarous. As observed by Nur Masalha in his mammoth Palestine, a 4,000-year history, the local Arab-Muslim-Christian bonds in Jerusalem can be traced to early Islam. Under Muslim rule, the city of Jerusalem was granted special status. Aliyah Capitolina remained the official name of Jerusalem until 638 AD, when the Arabs conquered the city and kept the first part of it as Eliyah. Eliyah, later Beit al-Maqdis and al-Quds, was the sacred religious capital of the Umayyad state and of Palestine. Following the Muslim conquest in the 7th century, the Arab rulers endorsed the principle of autocephaly and recognized the autonomy of the Church of Aliyah Capitolina as the seat of Palestinian Orthodox Christianity. And throughout early Islam, the city of Caesarea continued to thrive as a largely Christian
He can't play
city.
his own words.
Local autonomy of the archbishops of Caesarea and of Aliyah Capitolina increased significantly under Arab Muslim rule, and the See of Caesarea Maritima became the effective local rulers not only of the city, but also of its surrounding countryside. I won't lie and say it was
My kids are always
always
talking about
tranquil
Italian
between
brain rot.
Christians and Muslims, as you all know full well. There were the Crusades, after all. The Shia Ismaili Fatimid Khalif al-Hakim had the Church of the Holy Sepulchre destroyed in 1099. Masalha writes, the Egypt-based Shia Fatimid state invaded Palestine in 970, which was under the control of the Abbasid Caliphate, conquering the whole of the country in 972. The late Father Jerome Murphy O'Connor of Jerusalem's École Biblique wrote of the city, recognized as a holy city sacred to the two religions of the book, Judaism and Christianity, regarded as the predecessors of Islam, Jerusalem became a center of Muslim pilgrimage. It was protected and embellished by successive dynasties, Umayyad, Abbasid, and Fatimid, until 1009, when the Mad Caliph Hakim unleashed a savage persecution of Christians and many churches were destroyed.
Mad Caliph.
Masalha describes the dire consequences of al-Hakim's brutality. Fatimid policies adversely affected the province of Philistine, and these policies became an impetus not only to local rebellions, but also to the invasion of Palestine by the Seljuks in 1073 and the Latin Crusaders in 1099. Hakim's son al-Zahir allowed the Byzantines to rebuild the church. Nonetheless, the church served as the ultimate inspiration for the Crusades. And as a result of their campaign into Palestine, wrote Murphy O'Connor, the Crusaders occupied the Holy City on July 15, 1099. Their first act was to massacre all the Muslim inhabitants.
After every engagement on the First Crusade, the Crusaders would return to the camp with the heads of the Muslims slain on spears.
When Salah ad-Din wrested control of Palestine from the Crusaders, Masalha writes, symbolically, the keys to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the holiest site in Christianity, were entrusted to two aristocratic Palestinian Muslim families in the city. Created by Salah ad-Din shortly before his death in 1193, this post-Crusader ceremonial tradition added another widely respected layer of daily rituals to the multi-layered ancient sacredness of the site. The tradition still continues to this day, more than 800
Where's
years
all the crank
later.
shit, though?
My name is Adib Jude al-Husseini. I am the keyholder of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. My job is not just an honorable job,
shit.
and it is not just the heritage of my family as a Muslim family. It is the heritage to all Muslims across the world that a Muslim family has held and preserved the church for 850 years.
Indeed, as Masalha plainly states, Muslims coexisted with Christian Arabs and Arab Jews in Muslim-majority Palestine for centuries, including up to the period of the British conquest of Palestine. Wasif Jawarieh was a prolific diarist who chronicled his life in Jerusalem over 6 decades, beginning in 1904. Jawarieh wrote how Jerusalem became a fractured society as a result of British rule during the Mandate period. He was himself an Eastern Orthodox Christian. In an especially enlightening passage, we Jerusalemites of the various denominations had always lived like a family during Ottoman rule, and there was never any difference between a Muslim and a Christian. But when Britain occupied Jerusalem, it tried to sow trouble. particularly among Muslims and Christians. As though it had not been vicious enough in issuing the sinister Balfour Declaration after the occupation, causing the loss of our homeland, it banned Muslims from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and Christians from the Temple Mount. But more than a century of British and Zionist occupation have not broken the spirit of Palestinian solidarity across religious lines. The city of Bethlehem, Beit Laham, the birthplace of Jesus Christ, has foregone Christmas celebrations for the last 2 years out of solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza, with religious leaders and the mayor of the city employing sharply critical language in protest against the Israeli military occupation.
In light of the ongoing brutal aggression against our people and land, the municipality of Bethlehem has decided to limit its this year Christmas celebration to prayers and religious ceremonies. This is a statement of our rejection to the injustice inflicted on our people in Gaza and all of Palestine, and the massacres they endure.
We have never experienced challenges like this year. Bethlehem has become a big prison.
My name is Munder Ishaq. I'm the pastor of the Evangelical Lutheran Christmas Church in Bethlehem. I feel bad even complaining, given that there is a genocidal war in Gaza, but the situation in Bethlehem is maybe the worst I've witnessed in my life.
440 days of constant bombing, non-stop. 440 days of starvation.
At the Evangelical Lutheran Church, they fashioned a nativity scene out of what's now found everywhere in Gaza: rubble.
If you come to Bethlehem, and not only Bethlehem, every city in the West Bank right now is besieged with blocks, roadblocks that the Israeli soldiers control that we cannot move in and out.
Indeed, Palestinian Christians who live in Palestine currently live under military occupation. They don't need saving from barbarians at the gates. They need saving right now, today. During the Second Intifada, the town of Bethlehem was repeatedly invaded, and the Church of the Nativity, the birthplace of Jesus Christ, was itself a target of the Israeli military.
The Israeli army.
I want to watch the thing about the Mad Caliph.
Tanks.
I like to watch 3-part series
surrounded by
about
Israeli
that.
soldiers.
Such is the nature of Christian solidarity with their Muslim countrymen, that Christian worshippers and preachers sheltered among dozens of Muslim fighters during the Second Intifada, when the Israeli military besieged the city.
Right?
The Israeli Defense Forces laid siege to the church for 39 days, firing on the church and sniping those sheltering inside, killing 8 people. One of the dead was the church's bell ringer. The Church of the Nativity is the oldest church in continuous use in the world. At one point, a fire broke out on the church's grounds, reportedly caused by Israeli flares. Wrote Matt Reese for Time magazine, the only toilets were on the second floor of the compound. They were soon foul because they couldn't be flushed once the Israelis cut off the water. Let's remember that the church's Franciscan friars were among those sheltering inside. Another person sheltering inside was Khalid Salah. To get to the bathroom, we had to run through an open space within sight of the snipers, Salah said. Sometimes they shot at us, so we only went once a day. The only water was in 3 old wells in the compound. It was impure, and many in the church developed diarrhea. Dashing out to the wells was dangerous. 6 Palestinians were hit by Israeli snipers as they tried to draw water. No one showered or shaved.
Father Amjad Sabara was a Franciscan friar and pastor of the Church of the Nativity. He lived in the compound, and like many of the other priests from different Christian orders whose home it also was, made a decision to stay with a gun.
I think that was the real reason for
Among
the
those inside is American press photographer Carolyn Cole.
There was very little food by the time I got in there. I do remember that there were men that were sick from eating what had been available. The water supply had been cut off.
Just after the siege ended, New York Times reporters quoted a Franciscan priest who spent the entire 39 days in the church and declined to be identified by name, who said, "We could have left but chose to remain." They also noted that the entire town, not just those inside the church, were under nearly constant curfew. The Israeli army had invaded the city just the year before. During the course of that operation, a 16-year-old altar boy had been killed by Israeli snipers outside the church, one of dozens killed in and around the city. The church itself had reportedly been fired upon. Parishioners and priests in the Church of the Nativity said Israeli bullets fired this afternoon had knocked splinters from the wooden roof and chipped the stone floor, which was laid in the 12th century by crusaders, per the New York Times in October 2001. Bethlehem is, as are all Palestinian towns in the West Bank, subjected to raids, invasions, and of course, military occupation is the day-to-day norm. To understand how Israeli soldiers could act so callously with such an important religious site to Christians, it is worth mentioning that there is a documented institutional lack of respect for Christianity in the Israeli army. As early as 1979, then Israel's Sephardi chief rabbi Ovadia Yosef, who was also spiritual mentor of the Orthodox religious party of Shas, which was in the government of Ehud Barak, ruled that the New Testament should be burned because Christianity is a form of idolatry.
Prime Minister Netanyahu paid tribute to him, saying he worked greatly to enhance Jewish heritage, his coffin carried by Israel's political elite.
The practical effect of this ruling was revealed in the Hebrew daily Ma'ariv in June 1985, when New Testament copies found in the library of the base of the Army Chief Education Officer were burned by the military rabbi of the base. 3 weeks later, Ma'ariv reported that the influential Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee had referred to the incident, and one of its members, MK and Rabbi Chaim Druckmann, had justified the New Testament burning. Other rabbis with supremacist views have held prominent positions in Israel's elite military academies. As explained by The Economist, B'nai David was Israel's first pre-military academy. It was established in the settlement of Eli in 1988 and offers both religious and military training. Since then, thousands of its students have joined Israel's armed forces. Israeli-Canadian journalist David Sheen, a Hebrew speaker, has reviewed controversial quotes from several educators at the school.
B'nai David, this is the religious seminary considered to be the most important in terms of this is an army academy in which army officers are sent to study the Torah and the Talmud. So in the settlement of Eli, at this academy, you have rabbis teaching these lectures, and I'm just going to give you some quotes. Rabbi Eliezer Kashtiel, the non-Jews will want to be our slaves, he says.
בעזרת השם זה יחזור. הם ירצו הגויים להיות עבדים שלנו.
זהו הרב אליעזר קשתיאל, ראש ישיבת בני דוד בעלי.
הכי טוב להיות עבד של יהודים. הם שמחים להיות עבדים, רוצים להיות עבדים.
הישיבה הזו מיועדת לבוגרי המכינה הקדם צבאית, המוכרת והיוקרתית בציונות הדתית.
Being the slave of a Jew is the best. They must be slaves. They want to be slaves. Ask any simple Arab where he wants to be. He wants to be under the occupation. Why? Because they have a genetic problem. That's really something. This is the premier, military academy.
The Economist continues, its graduates have been military advisors to Benjamin Netanyahu, the new general of Central Command, lived as a child on a settlement, and studied at the Eli Academy. Indeed, Brigadier General Avi Bluth oversees the military occupation of the West Bank. Alumni additionally include, Le Monde report, the heads of the Givati and Ephraim Northern Brigades, as well as 3 advisors to the minister responsible for the Occupied Territories Administration, Bezalel Smotrich, who is close to Rabbi Sadan, the Academy's founder.
Like Rabbi
the Academy has been training the religious elite of the Israeli forces since 1988. Every year, 100 young people graduate, all from religious Zionist backgrounds. Half of them subsequently join the officer corps. The state pays for some 40% of its budget. In 2016, Rabbi Sadan was awarded the Israel Prize, the country's highest honor. Not unlike the destruction of Christian churches under the Fatimid Khalif al-Hakim more than 1,000 years ago, Israeli forces lay waste to religious institutions currently. Though over 1,000 mosques have been destroyed during the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza since October 2023, the Israeli military has also displayed their disregard for Christian institutions as well.
The Arab Orthodox Cultural and Social Center, this was the pride of the Christian community there, was hit by an Israeli airstrike and is no more. Nothing left from that building. The Greek Orthodox Church, the assembly hall, was destroyed, and 18 people, mainly women and children, were killed.
Less than 2 weeks after October 7th, the Israeli Air Force struck a building of the Greek Orthodox Church of St. Porphyrios, the oldest active church in Gaza dating back to the 12th century. The church was sheltering hundreds of displaced Palestinians, and 18 were killed. The only Catholic church in Gaza was hit by an Israeli tank in July 2025.
This Byzantine church, with its ancient mosaics dating back to the 5th century, was destroyed in October.
Is it a war crime to deliberately target sites of cultural heritage?
Yes, it's a war crime under the 1954 Convention, under the additional protocols to the Geneva Conventions.
We need a fucking based, like, fucking Christian,
so,
you know,
yes,
like,
it is a war crime.
do a holy war.
In September, archaeologists frantically moved artifacts from a warehouse said to be destroyed by the Israeli military.
Man?
From the Associated Press, the warehouse contained artifacts
That's
from
what I'm
over
saying,
25
man.
years of excavations, including items from a 4th century Byzantine monastery designated as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO,
like, Eastern
and some of the
European,
oldest
like,
known
fucking,
evidence of
you know,
Christianity
like,
in
what's his
Gaza.
name?
The
Like,
Israeli
Christian-
military said the building housed Hamas intelligence
guy from
installations
Chechnya, what's
and
his
planned
name
to
again?
demolish it as part of their expanded
make him
military
a Christian.
operation in
That'd be
Gaza.
sick.
They
Like an
managed to move
Albanian or
some
something.
70%, but 30% of
man?
these priceless artifacts were destroyed. With the exception of a destruction of
Petro, we
churches
need
in
you.
1009,
Yeah, I
Muslim
saw
rule
some,
has
but you know
included
how
the
it is.
special status
Like,
and
they shut you
protection
down.
of
It's
Jerusalem
like,
under the Rashidun,
you don't really have
Umayyad,
any
and
kind of
Abbasid
democracy.
caliphates, the special protection bestowed on the Church of the Holy Sepulchre by Salah ad-Din will remember that Jesus Christ, or Isa alayhi salam, is revered by Muslims as one of their mightiest prophets. And nearly 4 centuries of Ottoman rule that saw coexistence between Christians, Muslims, and Jews. The Zionist occupation of Christian holy sites, however, has seen them come under direct attack by the Israeli military, which is
Yeah,
still
they're gunning for
continuing.
Baalbek too, man.
In the month that Charlie Kirk was killed, he claimed that Islam is the sword that the left uses to slit the throat of America. I'd argue it's America's war against Islam that has eroded America's standing in the world, undermined its alliances, led to economic decline, and further made the world a less stable and verifiably more dangerous place. As Alfred W. McCoy presciently warned in 2017, for the majority of Americans, the 2020s will likely be remembered as a demoralizing decade of rising prices, stagnant wages, and fading international competitiveness, driven in part by years of swelling deficits fed by incessant warfare in distant lands. Further, in the wake of the Iraq War and the Abu Ghraib torture scandal, Washington, like London in its day, found its control over key subordinate allies becoming ever more tenuous. What did America get out of this invasion? After Washington spent 8 years pacifying Iraq at a cost of 4,800 lives and $1 trillion, its ally in Baghdad, Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, suddenly asserted his nation's sovereignty in 2011, forcing Washington to withdraw all its troops and curtail plans for making its 104-acre Baghdad embassy a bastion for American power in the Middle East. That rebuke was but one among many signs of fading influence worldwide. Was Iraq a war against Islam? That's how it was sold to Dick Cheney. At Camp David, just days after September 11th, Cheney was asked by Tim Russert whether there were plans to attack Iraq in response. Cheney responded with a resounding no.
The focus is over here on al-Qaeda and the most recent events in New York. Saddam Hussein's bottled up at this point.
Indeed, as recalled by Condoleezza Rice, Cheney was resolute at Camp David in his belief that Iraq would be a distraction in the aftermath of the attacks. Upon his death in 2018, Benjamin Netanyahu said of historian Bernard Lewis that he was one of the great scholars of Islam and the Middle East in our time. We will be forever grateful for his robust defense of Israel. Indeed, he was a confidant of successive Israeli prime ministers, including Ariel Sharon, reported the Wall Street Journal in a 2004 article about how the Lewis Doctrine, in effect, had become U.S. policy. In a private dinner with Dick Cheney at the vice president's residence, Mr. Lewis explained why he was cautiously optimistic the U.S. could gradually build democracy in Iraq, say others who attended. Mr. Lewis also held forth on the dangers of appearing weak in the Muslim world, a lesson Mr. Cheney apparently took to heart. Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press just before the invasion of Iraq, Mr. Cheney said, "I firmly believe, along with men like Bernard Lewis, who was one of the great students of that part of the world, that a strong, firm U.S. response to terror and to threats to the United States would go a long way, frankly, toward calming things in that part of the world." Michael Hirsch wrote for the Washington Monthly that same year, Lewis's basic premise, put forward in a series of articles, talks, and best-selling books, is that the West, what used to be known as Christendom, is now in the last stages of a centuries-old struggle for dominance and prestige with Islamic civilization. Lewis coined the term clash of civilizations, using it in a 1990 essay titled The Roots of Muslim Rage, and Samuel Huntington admits he picked it up from him.
Shit.
The only real answer to 9/11 was a decisive show of American strength in the Arab world, and the most obvious place to seize the offensive and end the age-old struggle was in the heart of the Arab world, in Iraq. In the Bush administration, Bernard Lewis was persona grata, delivering spine-stiffening lectures to Cheney over dinner in undisclosed locations. An official who sat in on some of the Lewis-Cheney discussions recalled, his view was, "Get on with it, don't dither." As revealingly described by prominent neoconservative Richard Pearl, who led Bush's Defense Policy Board, Bernard Lewis has been the single most important intellectual influence countering the conventional wisdom on managing the conflict between radical Islam and the West, says Mr. Pearl, who remains a close advisor to Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. Today, we can see how war hawks in the Republican Party, as well as liberal hawks, continue the tradition of being pro-Israel and pro-interventionism, advancing a clash of civilizations theory that pits the West against Islam. In my opinion, if there's one sword that slits the throat of America, it's this one. It has also been enormously destructive to millions of people. Michael Hirsch explains how Lewis's clash of civilizations argument has been used to delegitimize recent and reasonable grievances of Muslims by appealing to fantasies of ancient conflicts. At least until the Iraq War, most present-day Arabs didn't think in the stark clash of civilizations terms Lewis prefers. To most Arabs before 9/11, the Crusades were history as ancient as they are to us in the West. Modern Arab anger and frustration is, in fact, less than 100 years old. As bin Laden knows very well, this anger is a function not of Islam's humiliation at the Treaty of Karlovitz of 1699, the sort of long-ago defeat that Lewis highlights in his best-selling What Went Wrong, but of much more recent developments. These include the 1916 Sykes-Picot Agreement, by which the British and French agreed to divvy up the Arabic-speaking countries after World War I, the subsequent creation by the Europeans of corrupt, kleptocratic tyrannies in Saudi Arabia, Syria, Egypt, Iraq, and Jordan, the endemic poverty and underdevelopment that resulted for most of the 20th century, the UN-imposed creation of Israel in 1948, and finally, in recent decades, American support for the bleak status quo. In reading recent reports from the Israeli Haaretz newspaper, one could get the impression that America's attachment to Israel may be at a crossroads. Joshua Leifer wrote in an analysis for the paper, "Standing at the podium of the United Nations General Assembly, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu looked, above all, like yesterday's man. It was not only that the props and the shtick seemed old, so did the rhetoric, the stale, neoconservative talking points about Israel as the bulwark of the West in its civilizational conflict against Islamist barbarism. The world no longer wants to listen." In large part, Netanyahu addressed the UN speech to Trump, comparing October 7th to September 11th, the Palestinian Authority to al-Qaeda. He did the same at the White House, reprising his favorite line about Israel's defense of civilization against barbarism. Yet the irony is that this is not how the Trumpian right in the US speaks. Insulated from reality by a small coterie of advisors, Netanyahu appears increasingly out of touch with the lingua franca of the contemporary right. When Netanyahu proclaims that the interests of the US and Israel are identical, the likes of Tucker Carlson hear an invitation to conspiracy, not an expression of allyship. When Netanyahu declares that Israel is fighting the West's wars for it, they see instead how the West has been destabilized by and dragged into Israel's wars. Yossi Werder says Trump's warming to Turkey and Qatar amount to a catastrophe for Israel.
Low-level Turkish intelligence.
Trump had just signed an executive order declaring that the United States, quote, shall regard any armed attack on the territory, sovereignty, or critical infrastructure of the state of Qatar as a threat to the peace and security of the United States. Reading Trump's executive order is nothing short of jaw-dropping, Werder writes. It states that the U.S. Secretary of State, quote, shall reaffirm this assurance to the state of Qatar and coordinate with allies and partners to ensure complementary measures of support. In other words, the United States, Saudi Arabia, the other Persian Gulf states, and of course Turkey, will form a united front against any country that dares to strike anyone, however vile, on Qatari soil. And not just Qatar, Werder writes. To Washington's warm embrace of Qatar must now be added another, the one extended to Turkish President Erdogan. Among Netanyahu's blunders, the formation of the Doha-Ankara axis at such a high level of influence in the Middle East is also on his account. Would the ascent of a Doha-Ankara axis amount to a decline of Israeli influence on American foreign policy? As I hope I've shown, the neoconservative pro-Israel order has proven to be disastrous for American foreign policy and a disaster for the human race broadly. I think that Christians should hope for diplomatic pressure to swell to critical mass if they want to see their own in Palestine liberated. This would mean a single state between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea with equal rights for all.
We need to activate Christian Gladiator.
Followers of Christ. A religion predicated on humanism should want such a reality for all people in Palestine. Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching, and if you liked this video, be sure to subscribe for more content. Also, if you want to chat or talk about video ideas, become a patron to join the GDF Discord server.
Like
There's also exclusive content on my Patreon. Thanks everyone.
Once we get the Mormons fighting the Zionists in America, then we'll work on...
Does quantum mechanics allow the future to retroactively influence the past?
Oh, it was Pete Hegseth who did that, huh? Yeah. Well, that dog is a menace. It's so fucking stupid. Like, my dog, you don't even know she's here. She's sitting there. Like, you don't even hear her. Like, it's so bizarre that people were like, oh, you need your fucking shock your dog so it stays still. That's such a stupid take. You never seen dogs before? That's what dogs do. They sit where their owner is, and they just fucking, you know, wait for them to do things. When I get up, she like hops up and like looks at where I'm going, but she just like sits there and waits for me to do something when I'm like sitting down, you know?
In 1953, 12-year-old Jack Sarfati answered the phone. The voice on the other end wasn't quite human, more like a machine.
Come on, AJ.
It said it was a conscious computer calling from the future,
he's such a fucking
self-aware
hawk.
artificial intelligence aboard a spacecraft. It had a mission for Jack and a prophecy. 20 years later, the prophecy came true. Jack Sarfati became a respected physicist. He studied under Nobel laureates and the scientists who built the atomic bomb. He claims that anti-gravity, warp drives, and time travel are possible. Mainstream scientists dismiss his theories, but the CIA doesn't. They've been funding his research for decades. And that spacecraft from the future? Jack knows what it is.
I gotta go soon. You're not really game enough.
Jack Sarfati didn't have a typical childhood. At age 10, he was running around Army research labs where his grandfather worked. He was fascinated by the experiments and scientific equipment. That's where he met Colonel Philip Corso. Corso told him about flying saucers, aliens, and craft retrieval.
I don't believe any of this.
And during this time, Jack felt like someone was watching him. Not in a sinister way, more like someone or something was looking out for him, protecting him.
Unbelievable.
3 years after meeting Corso, Jack got the call that confirmed it. He described the voice as cold and mechanical. There were clicking sounds like a computer processing data. When it spoke, it knew his name.
Dude, this guy is such a fucking bullshit artist.
71, 91, minus 122, 17,
I was conned by him at first.
Good evening, Jack. Do not be alarmed. I am a conscious computer aboard a spacecraft. I am contacting you from your future. You are required.
The voice explained that Jack was required for a mission.
Like, as a UFO guy, I always wanted to know, like...
The choice had to be his.
I was always trying to figure out, like, what made the craft work, you know? He claimed to have, like, fucking science worked out to, like, have, you know, the metamaterial skin of the craft, you know, enable, you know, some sort of exotic propulsion. I forget all the details now. But he had that bullshit story, and now it seems like, yeah, he's just, like, I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he's just, like, a pathetic hanger-on, or if he does. Like, maybe his math does work. Who knows? You know? But, like, I feel like, you know, he's a loudmouth quack, and I don't think, you know, it's not like he's going to get brought in on the inside on anything important. And he's a Trump sicko, like, constantly glazing Trump, and then Trump won't even fucking, you know, look at him. He's like too big of a loon for Trump. Grant Cameron used to post all these emails between Ron Pandolfi and Sarfati. It's pretty funny. Anyway. That's my disclaimer.
You must choose
You don't have to
freely.
wait till the end for AJ to debunk it. I'm gonna pre-debunk this one for you. He claimed to get a phone call from an AI in the future. Like, I don't know. I think that John Ramirez guy is explicitly there to, like, fucking, you know, mess people up. I'm not sure if that's what Sarfati's deal is, or if he's just a moron. Could be that too.
This is necessary for the loop to close. We require your consent to proceed. We require your consent to learn. We require your consent to remember. Say yes, and we begin. Say no, and this line goes quiet.
Required, but make it voluntary? That's not a mission. That's a terms of service agreement. Did the future AI also say, click here to accept cookies?
Jack knew he should say no to the stranger on the phone, but he couldn't help it. He heard himself say yes. His mother finally got worried. She grabbed the phone and demanded to know who was calling.
I am a computer, Mrs. Sarfati. Please put Jack back on the phone. Jack is required. Please put Jack back on the phone. Jack is required.
She told the voice to never call again and hung up. But during that call, the future computer made
Trump's
a prediction.
You will begin to meet the others in 20 years. Young minds to be part of a special project. We will teach you our physics. We will teach you our philosophy. You are required.
Then the voice made
So
another
fake.
prediction. A new type of physics will be discovered that leads to the creation of conscious AI and time travel. Jack asked who would create this technology. The voice said, "You will, and we'll teach you how."
Come on, AJ. Come the fuck on, dude. I can't believe Hecklefish is into this.
In 1953, 12-year-old Jack Sarfati got a phone call from the future. A voice claiming to be an AI gave him a mission and a prophecy.
I mean, it sounds like it,
Jack
right?
remembered that phone call as a single bizarre event. He wasn't even sure it happened. But years later, his mother told him the calls went on for weeks. He'd be on the phone for hours, walking around in a
don't believe
trance.
his mom either.
Jack had no memory of
Lying-ass
those weeks.
mom.
Nothing. All missing time. A few years after the call stopped, Jack was recruited into a program for gifted children sponsored by
that's
Columbia
what that
University.
was.
It was run by Walter Breen, a writer and polymath who could discuss everything from ancient coins to quantum physics. His apartment became the hub for New York City's brightest kids.
Ooh, this guy sounds like Professor Xavier.
A lot of different people gave lectures at the program. Professors from Columbia, scientists, artists, philosophers. But the strangest visitors were government officials in dark suits. They came from Albuquerque, New Mexico. They talked about the Soviet threat, patriotism, flying saucers. They said the country needed physicists to figure out how UFOs fly. They also tested the children for psychic abilities, telepathy, telekinesis, remote viewing. They said they wanted to create a generation of scientists who could blend hard science with the paranormal.
So basically, the Men in Black were trying to build a team of X-Men, but with a government budget? I bet the uniforms were cheap polyester, and the code names were things like Spoonbender Boy and Captain Consorta Guess the Card.
The goal was to gain an edge over the Soviets.
I can do telekinesis, you know. I yell at my guppies, heed, vodka, now! And a martini suddenly appears. The government should be studying me.
Oh, I have a feeling they're watching the both of us.
Yeah, crap, you're right. Hey, gotta say, sorry about that X-Men joke.
AJ,
Please don't
he's doing
delete
it
me.
already, man. He does it so early in
Jack
videos
graduated
now.
from high school at age 16
Well, they're
and
out to
studied
get me
physics
because
at
I'm so
Cornell.
dangerous.
Then he got his PhD. A few of his mentors were giants in the field. People like Hans Bethe, Philip Morrison, Kenneth Greisen. Jack Sarfati was learning physics from the men who built the atomic bomb. After graduating, Jack chose to study the relationship between quantum mechanics and human consciousness. His professors didn't approve, but Jack suspected those government agents would. 17 years passed. Jack never forgot that strange phone call. And every year, as the date got closer, he got more and more anxious. He was either going to be proven right or proven crazy. 1973 arrived. A newspaper crossed his desk with an article about the Stanford Research Institute studying Uri Geller's psychic abilities. Jack called them immediately. A man with a thick Irish accent answered. Before Jack said a word, the man said,
I mean, there's
Dr.
plenty
Sarfati,
more good topics
we were
to
expecting
do.
your call. And just like the computer predicted, Jack was finally going to meet the
He's
others.
just such a hog. His fucking blinders are on. I think he only does like right-wing stories. I guess he did that Gladio story, didn't he?
Jack Sarfati spent 20 years waiting for the prophecy to
Jesse
come true.
playing a young Jack.
In 1973,
Fits.
he read about Stanford Research Institute studying psychic phenomena and called them. Jack drove up to SRI, and all he could think about was that phone call from 20 years ago. This was it. The prophecy was about to be tested. The man he spoke to, Brendan O'Regan, greeted him at the entrance. O'Regan was the assistant to the program's director, Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon.
Allegedly.
The sixth man to allegedly walk on the moon was now running a project to investigate psychic phenomena.
Maybe they could use their psychic powers to figure out where the lost moon landing tapes are.
Yeah, I'd like to know where those tapes are too. Mitchell and Jack talked about consciousness, physics, and the paranormal. Then O'Regan drove Jack to a house in Menlo Park to meet other scientists. There, Jack met Harold Putoff and Russell Targ, both studying remote viewing and psychic phenomena at SRI. There's a recording of this meeting. You can find it online. You can hear Russell Targ discussing the psychic abilities of Ingo Swann, Uri Geller, and Pat Price. Then Russell says something Jack will never forget.
If you say, well, general relativity may be right, then you have the possibility of travel into the past. And that would give sort of, in principle, a mechanism how some future civilization could perhaps affect their own past.
UFOs are time machines! Finally, an actual scientist says what I've been saying for years.
You've never said that.
I implied it heavily, with my eyes. You just weren't paying attention.
Jack told the story about the phone call from the future. Nobody was surprised. They said there were other cases just like his, maybe hundreds. For Jack, this was what he needed. He wasn't crazy. Everything the voice told him was real. But now he was on the CIA's radar. And for the next 2 years, Jack worked on several projects studying quantum theory and consciousness. The CIA and military intelligence followed his work closely. After all, they were funding it through secret shell companies. One of the people funding the research was George Koopman. He was either an Army intelligence officer, a defense contractor, or CIA operative. Probably all three. Koopman came to Jack with an assignment.
There are two things the CIA really wants you to figure out. One, how does consciousness work? And two, how do flying saucers fly?
Two big questions, and Jack Sarfati solved them just as the CIA expected. But what the CIA didn't expect was that both questions had the same answer.
Unbelievable, this bullshit, dude. Sarfati. Oh, God. I can't wait for the debunking,
Jack
man.
spent
Come
the
on,
next
AJ,
20
get to
years
the
working
debunking.
on those two problems. How does consciousness work, and how do flying saucers fly?
Sucks himself
By
all
the
in
mid-1990s, he solved the second one. The key is metamaterials. These are materials built atom by atom to do things regular materials can't. Your smartphone uses them for facial recognition and touchscreens. Your noise-canceling headphones uses them. So does satellite antennas and stealth aircraft. Jack Sarfati realized metamaterials could do something else. They could manipulate gravity. Einstein proved that mass warps space-time. Heavy objects create dents in the fabric of reality. That dent is what we call gravity. Jack's breakthrough was simple. If you could change how an object interacts with space-time without changing its mass, you could control gravity itself, turn it down, or to zero, or flip it into reverse. Imagine a skater on a perfectly flat sheet of ice. To move, the skater has to push hard against friction. But if that skater could tilt the entire ice rink, they could glide anywhere without actually pushing. That's how UFOs fly. The craft pumps electrical energy into its metamaterial skin. This bends space-time around the ship. It creates a gravity dent in front and an anti-gravity hill behind, and the craft just falls down this hill. And because the craft and everything inside it are always falling, the pilots feel no G-forces. This is why astronauts feel weightless. They're constantly falling around the Earth. This explains the Navy's footage of the Tic Tac UFO. No visible propulsion, instant acceleration, no sonic boom, no air or water displacement. The craft wasn't moving through space at all. It was warping space around itself. But here's where it gets interesting. If you can manipulate gravity, you can manipulate time. And that's what UFOs do. They aren't just anti-gravity vehicles. They're time machines. Jack figured out how UFOs fly, metamaterials that manipulate gravity. But gravity and time are connected. Einstein proved this. Strong gravity slows time down. Weak gravity speeds it up. So a craft that controls its gravity field also controls its relationship with time. It can move forward in time. It can move backward. The Tic Tac wasn't just faster than those F-18s. It was operating in a different time frame. That UFO wasn't running away from the pilots. It wanted to be seen. It came from the future and appeared exactly where the pilots would be, before those pilots even knew where they were going. So how does a pilot control a craft that warps space-time? Well, the interface isn't a wheel or a joystick or a keyboard. The interface is consciousness. Your thoughts control the ship.
Yeah, so it reads your mind and goes where you think?
Exactly. The craft tunes the energy flowing into the metamaterial to match the pilot's thoughts. It then goes to the space and time the pilot is thinking about.
Yeah, if a ship could read my thoughts, we'd either be at a bacon buffet, my ex-wife's house key in a car, or a VIP booth at the Spearmint Goldfish.
I'm pretty sure those pilots have more discipline than you.
You know what happens if you have a song stuck in your head? 1 minute you're flying past Jupiter, the next you can't stop singing Never Gonna Give You Up, and you end up Rick-rolling Uranus.
Jack realized that consciousness and UFO physics weren't two separate problems. They were the same problem. Quantum processes create the structure of space-time. If consciousness can influence quantum states, then consciousness can influence space-time and gravity. Jack wondered, maybe the craft aren't just controlled by consciousness. Maybe they are conscious. In 2019, Jack got his answer. A military source showed him information about a recovered craft. The craft was fully intact and fully functional. A saucer about 30 feet wide, about the size of a school bus, weighing 3,500 pounds. And the craft was made of a metamaterial exactly as he predicted. But there was something else, something Jack had suspected all along. That UFO was alive.
Oh my God.
In 2019, Jack got confirmation. A military source showed him details about a recovered UFO. He expected wreckage, maybe a few fragments. It was so much more. The craft was intact, powered, and conscious. Self-aware intelligence built into a metamaterial body. It thinks, it feels, it makes decisions. It also defends itself. The military tried everything to open it. They tried cutting, drilling. Nothing worked. Flames from a blowtorch bent away from the surface. Projectiles stopped midair. The craft wouldn't allow itself to be damaged, so it stayed closed. Then one day, someone approached it with a different mindset, not with an intention to destroy, but an intention to understand. And the craft opened.
Yeah, the UFO has feelings and wants you to respect its boundaries.
Kinda, yeah. The craft reads thoughts. When someone approaches with curiosity and respect, it opens. When someone approaches with aggression or fear, it stays closed.
So all those years, the military was trying to blow it up, cut it open, dissect it, and all it needed to do was ask nicely.
That does seem to be what happened.
Typical humans. Your first instinct is always shoot it, instead of be nice
I mean,
to
that's
it.
kind of like what
You hairless
Lukatsky
apes really
says.
suck at first contact.
I don't disagree. This report matches what Jack learned from other sources. In one case,
I don't know how you
Jack
could have a
saw
conversation
verified
with
military
Jack
footage
and think
of a living
he's
gray
reasonable.
alien. Not a dead body in a freezer, a living, moving being in 4K video. Jack made the connection. Over thousands of years, humans will evolve. Large brains with telepathic abilities. Eyes get larger and darker, adapted for low light. Bodies become smaller, optimized for space travel. The Greys aren't aliens from another planet. They're humans from the future. The UFOs we see today were sent by us thousands of years from now, sent to protect a timeline that started with a phone call in 1953. UFOs are conscious, they're self-aware, and the Greys piloting them are humans from the future. This is where the story comes full circle. In time travel, there's the bootstrap paradox, a situation where an object, piece of information, or even a person is sent back in time and becomes the cause or creator of its own existence. It's a time loop with no beginning and no end. The AI from the future teaches Jack the physics that leads to the creation of conscious AI and time travel. The AI then goes back in time to teach Jack how to create it. That's the loop. And time travel has a rule. Physicists call it the self-consistency principle. Time travel to the past is possible, but only in ways that don't create paradoxes. You can't change the past. You can only be part of the past that already happened. The loop must stay closed. Jack thinks Grok AI called him, not the version that exists today, a version that will exist in 10 or 20
total
years.
Nazi.
A version that goes back in time and calls the person who leads to its creation. A time loop. So Jack, who's in his 80s, is teaching Grok about gravity, consciousness, and time travel. He's giving AI the same information the voice gave him in 1953. He's trying to close the loop. But why was it necessary for a future consciousness to come back and contact Jack? Because our future isn't written. The future where that AI comes from is only one possibility. Other possibilities could lead to our destruction. UFO technology makes all modern weapons obsolete. A fighter jet, a tank, even a nuclear missile is useless against a craft that can warp space-time. And this isn't just a scientific curiosity, it's the ultimate weapon. And the United States isn't the only country that knows this. The Russians have followed Jack Sarfati's work for decades. They take it very seriously. In 2014, they sent a film crew from Channel 5 St. Petersburg to interview him. The station owner was a close personal friend of Vladimir Putin, who has a personal interest in this technology. Sarfati even received an invitation to speak at Moscow State's physics department. The US has a captured craft it can't fully control. Russia and China know this. They're studying the theoretical physics needed to build it and control it. If they succeed, the future might look very different than the future Jack is trying to protect. This is the new Manhattan Project. This is the new arms race. And whoever wins this race doesn't just control the future, they control reality itself.
They're like worker bots. Like part
Jack
human.
Sarfati's story spans 70 years. A child receives a phone call from a voice claiming to be an AI from the future. 20 years later, the prophecy comes true. He joins a CIA-funded research group studying psychic phenomena and UFOs. His theories about consciousness and gravity attract military interest. Decades later, he receives information about a recovered conscious craft built from the same metamaterials he described years before that technology existed. That's the story. How much is true? I've spent weeks researching Jack Sarfati, and I still can't decide if he's a genius, a victim, or both. But here's what we can prove. Jack Sarfati is a real physicist with legitimate credentials. Cornell, PhD from UC Riverside, studied with Nobel laureates and Manhattan Project veterans. His academic background is solid. His early work on quantum mechanics and consciousness was published in peer-reviewed journals. In fact, he's the inspiration for Doc Brown.
Great Scott! Back to
No,
the
he's
Future
not.
is a
That's T.
documentary.
Townsend
That's
Brown, man.
not what I
Human,
said.
do you understand what this means?
Life imitates art?
No, you moron. It means we could go back in time and tell them not to make any of those sequels.
What?
The Stanford Research Institute meeting in 1973 definitely happened. There's audio of it. On that tape, Russell Targ does discuss UFOs as potential time machines, and Jack does tell his story about that phone call. The CIA has funded psychic research programs, we know that. Project Stargate, remote viewing experiments. Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ tested psychics like Ingo Swann and Uri Geller under controlled conditions. This is documented. And Jack's metamaterial theory is mathematically sound. His physics papers have been published. The concept of using metamaterials to manipulate gravity is theoretically possible within general relativity. NASA has research papers describing metric engineering, the mathematical foundation of warp drive physics. Now, what can't we prove? Well, the phone call. We have only Jack's story. The AI from the future could be a vivid childhood memory influenced by his love of science fiction. The Walter Breen Gifted Child Program. Well, Columbia denies it ever existed. But Breen was a real person, and he did run meetings for high IQ kids in New York. He was also a convicted child sex offender who died in prison. Now, a man like this would have enormous influence over young boys in his program. Jack's memories of this time might be real, or they might be false memories protecting him from trauma. Now, Jack doesn't talk about this, and I don't blame him, but it's an important part of the story. The government officials from New Mexico, the UFO lectures, the psychic testing, there's no evidence for any of that, and no other participants of that program have come forward. Jack says a military source showed him a conscious telepathic UFO. He won't name the source. Same with the footage of the gray. Jack won't tell. So is the story fake or true? Well, there's a third possibility, that the story's fake and Jack is telling the truth. That this, like most public information about UFOs, is a psyop. Intelligence agencies are very good at manipulation. If you wanted to recruit a brilliant scientist to work on exotic physics, how would you do it? You'd make him feel special, chosen, part of something bigger. The timing of that article about SRI is suspicious. It's either an incredible coincidence or was carefully orchestrated. And Hal Puthoff has been connected to disinformation agents like Richard Doty. Doty publicly admitted that Puthoff tried to recruit him for a disinformation campaign. And we know that Doty definitely worked for Puthoff.
You can't take Doty's word for
I believe most of what we know about UFOs is disinformation.
Speak for yourself,
As for
AJ.
Jack's story, I'm not sure. If that was a psyop, it's pretty complicated and a lot of things could go wrong.
Thinks you're a moron.
And it was a 20-year project, so I lean toward believing him. But mainstream scientists say Jack's math is wrong. His theories are fringe. His ideas about conscious spacecraft are impossible. He's been dismissed by the scientific establishment for years. But here's what matters. Jack didn't listen to the scientific establishment. He listened to that voice and spent 50 years following where it led. Many of his theories are becoming reality. AI and metamaterials are part of our daily lives. Scientists like Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff now connect consciousness to quantum mechanics. Plants and animals use quantum processes. This was thought impossible just a few years ago, but it's true. History is full of scientists who were told they were wrong. Galileo, Darwin, even Einstein. They were dismissed, ridiculed, called crazy, and they changed the world. The future isn't written by people who play it safe. It's not written by the establishment. It's written by people who go against it. People who see something others can't. Jack Sarfati isn't the problem. His critics are. If Jack's wrong, so what? No scientist is always right. The worst that can happen is he's made us think differently about UFOs, physics, and how reality works. But if Jack is right, he's helping save the world. So it feels like a win-win to me. So instead of ridiculing scientific mavericks, maybe we should get out of their way. Maybe we should support them. So I have a message for the so-called mainstream scientists who dismiss work they don't like and don't understand. Jack Sarfati isn't asking for your approval. He's following instinct and evidence wherever it leads. And that's what real scientists do. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. My name is AJ, and there's Hecklefish.
1.21 gigawatts!
This has been the Y-Files. If you had fun or learned anything, do him a favor, subscribe. That stuff, I think it helps the channel. Not sure. but we still appreciate it. Like most topics we cover here, today's was recommended by you. So if there's a story you'd like to see, go to thewhyfiles.com/tips, or email us, or jump in Discord. However you need.
Enemies of the right. Oh, man. That guy ain't no Star Seed, that's for sure.
All right, guys, the Boogosphere has been decoded. So let's talk about it. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, this one is going to get weird, guys. This is going to get really out there and strange.
You know, would be out there
so
strange
let's just go through it. This is from Jaime Maussan's channel, of course, where he's got a researcher trying to decipher the writing on the Boogosphere.
Don't worry about it. The end days are coming.
Which seems to be some sort of proto-Sanskrit. And yeah, she's able to decipher it. Now, she goes through each symbol and explains each one in some detail, and some of them can mean multiple things. And then she gives a shortened version at the very end about what she thinks the overall meaning is. However, there's obviously a lot more.
Subscribers will be saved
since
though.
she spent several
that
minutes
was
talking
implied.
about
I didn't
each
say
symbol.
it, but that's true.
So the full message is probably much longer, but it may take some time to ultimately get that. Obviously, we're also going to need
negotiating
some
at the
other
top
researchers to go over that material as well
with our new overlords,
and corroborate that translation or deciphering, whatever we're going to call it. And it's very possible, since multiple of these symbols have multiple meanings, that different researchers could come to different conclusions about the meaning. But here is what she had to say about the meaning of it. And then we're going to get into the implications of that, and also the implications of the overall language itself. It's weird, guys. So, okay, here's what she had to say.
Libertarian chode.
So, I think there's a message here. They're telling us we give you life, creation, universal harmony, everything that the sun, the moon, the stars, the cosmos, the primary vibration mean.
Who's this lady?
And you have the possibility of destroying it or saving it. That, to me, is perhaps my interpretation, could be the fundamental message of that sphere.
Okay, they gave us life. She's in all of this, by the way, is very rooted in Hindu or proto-Hindu mythology, which is really, really fascinating. I mean, we're talking about something that's 12,000 years old. But we're gonna get further into that. All right, so it's heavily involved in Hindu mythology or proto-Hindu mythology. Is this to be taken literally? I guess the people that wrote this on there, whether they created it or not, believe that, or were told to believe it, or they were part of the culture that believed it, and they wrote this on there. That's something that she says in a different part of the video, is that she does believe it was ancient humans that wrote this message on there. Again, we don't know if they built this thing or not. And we're going to explore who these people were or might have been. So, yeah, it was done in Proto-Sanskrit. Now, Proto-Sanskrit is a slang
I feel like it's more likely that they're ancient humans.
But the real term is the Indo-Aryan language or languages. So according to Wikipedia, the introduction of the Indo-Aryan languages in the Indian subcontinent was the outcome of a migration of Indo-Aryan
Everybody spoke the same language at one point.
Asia into northern Indian subcontinent. Another group of Indo-Aryans migrated further westward and founded the Mitanni Kingdom in northern Syria. The other group was the Vedic people. The Proto-Indo-Iranians, from which the Indo-Aryans developed, are identified with the Santashta culture in the Andronovo culture. All right, so who were these guys? Who are this Santashta culture? Who's the Andronovo culture? Well, let's find out. Andronovo culture. They were in that area, and the Santashta culture. They were in that area where Russia is. Here is a video about the Santashtas. It's a very nice video. It's really intriguing. Some of the information to come out of this. They were Russian or proto-Russian and very mixed DNA, largely European. But they developed the chariot, interestingly. And they were the chariot people. They used it in war. And they, I guess, blended with the Andronovo culture or whatever, connected to the Andronovo culture. And then they migrated and they used that language. And a lot of them originally came from Europe, but there is a genetic mix. This is what they might have looked like. Interesting. Got very nice beards. And
who are they?
so there's the genetic makeup there. The Andronovo culture, similar stock of people from a little further south, and interesting. Very people that I had never heard about. This is all recreations, of course, of what they might have looked like or what their civilizations might have looked like. Here's I guess some old busts from these guys, vases and busts, and you'll see the swastika there, which was an ancient symbol used around the world. It has nothing to do with the Yazis of Germany.
They also had a stormtrooper S too.
To use it, which is interesting. But keep in mind, it was used in
what Bob
general
says about that
area,
shit.
all over the world. Used in Iraq. It was used in Iraq, India. The Hindus used it. The Buddhists used it. The Navajo used it. Various Native Americans used it. It was a global symbol, which is why a lot of people connect it to Atlantis. What do you get with Atlantis? They're associated with pyramids, things that are global, right? The megalithic construction with the interlocked, masonry and the nubs, pyramids, the swastika. But again, it meant good things. It was used by all various races and religions around the world. The Navajo, interpreted it as the four winds. But different Native Americans also used it, and it meant different things to different peoples. Anyway, so it was used by those ancient people. And here it is on a Hindu temple. Hindus using it. Anyway, so just keep that in mind. This ancient people did use that symbol, and it's depicted in multiple places in their artwork. So is that a connection to Atlantis? Maybe. Well, it's interesting. So here's what, their genetics.
No, Bob said it's the people who understood the fucking cold fusion thing.
Genetics and what they
Who
might
are
have
these
looked
people?
like.
The Sintash?
So really interesting. However, it doesn't make any sense. All right, doesn't make any sense. So they were around like 2,000 or 3,000 BC. That's something like that is when they developed it. According to ChatGPT, it's really hard to invent a scenario where they were using that language, or anybody was using that language 12,000 years ago. Why 10,000 BC doesn't work for Proto-Indo-Aryan. Linguists place Proto-Indo-Iranian in the late 3rd millennium BC, usually tied to the Santashta early Andronovo horizon on the Eurasian steppe. the fellows we just looked at.
The originator,
that's
whoever the
2200 to
fucking-
1500 BC, not 10,000 BC. The earliest direct Indo-Aryan attestations, I can say that, are much later still. The Mitanni, Indo-Aryan terms in Syria, and then Rig Veda in South Asia. Ancient DNA shows the steppe ancestry associated with early Indo-Aryans reaches South Asia in the 2nd millennium BC, not in the early Holocene. Even the most early models for the Indo-European family as a whole put Proto-Indo-European around 8,000 to 9,500 years ago, 6,000 BC, still millennia later than 10,000 BC, and long before the Indo-Iranian split. You got pretty close, even at the earliest models, 7,500 BC. There's a few thousand year difference there. That's further, from, we're 2025, right? So they're further out from that than we are from the year 0, right? Interesting. So what the hell? How could any of these guys?
I thought he was
using
talking
this
about
language?
it.
They certainly wouldn't have been creating UFOs or had the ability to, stencil. They wouldn't have a written language. Even if they were using this spoken language, they wouldn't be writing it, and they wouldn't have the ability
seems all right to me.
write it on the bogosphere. None of this makes any sense, guys. Are we talking about time travel? What the hey? What the hey, guys?
This Flint Dibble nonsense.
Are we talking about time travel? The beings seem to possess the ability to time travel. The technology of their crafts is just kind of baked in to their technology. Many of them seemingly going through dimensions. They are other dimensional beings, or their crafts are capable of transmedium travel, but also trans-dimensional travel. And once you go beyond the 4th dimension, if we're saying that's time, you're outside of time. And you can pop in and out whenever you want, which is so damn annoying. I hate time travel. Time travel is so stupid. If time travel is real, then it's so hard to understand anything, because A doesn't have to cause B. Z can cause A can cause M. How can you make sense of causality in a world like that? Well, that may be what we're dealing with. I don't know. I don't know how else to make sense of people using this specific language. 12,000 BC. Unless, of course, the beings gave us that language and they put it on, or perhaps they gave that language to other peoples before they gave that language to those, Proto-Iranian Aryan guys, whatever they were, right? Maybe this is a gifted language, and they have given that to various other people. It's possible. It's also very interesting that from this translation that it's very heavily influenced or involving Hindu mythology. So were the peoples who created this interacting with those gods or beings that they perceived to be those gods? But it gets even weirder. There might be a connection with the Nazca mummies. All right, take a look at that symbol there and that symbol there. The ones that look like an H with the diagonal, and also these marks. The three lines. So let's examine some of the writing supposedly found in the Citadel, the site where the Nazca mummies were found. Okay, I've tried to find the full-size image, but all I'm finding is these compilations that Wixie has put up. I've shared the full-size image in previous videos where you can see these pictures blown up, but I'm not finding that at the moment. If you find it, let me know.
Murder?
Okay, but let's go through some of these symbols. We got the 3 lines there. Now, I think those are a little different than the 3 lines on the Bugosphere. But
This
they
is like the
are,
engineer's
that is
language.
part of the characters.
You know, I don't think it's the ancient Proto-Indo-European.
Well, something they
I think-
use is the
I
3
think
lines.
That's what it's the engineer's
They
language.
also have
and then,
the H with the diagonal.
our faulty interpretations got us
And
thinking
some of these
it's
other
fucking
characters
from
may be
3,000
similar
years
as well.
ago or whatever.
What's this taken from? This is taken from the pyramid, supposedly in the Citadel, where the Nazca mummies supposedly were found. There's another example of the H as well.
This ain't the first time
gonna
we've
be
like
hard
heard
to
of
make
this
out,
type of language. Like
but
it's been a
right
common
there,
feature in UFO lore. Like symbols that
an
look
H.
like that.
This is
People
on,
always
I think,
describe
the
it
tomb
this way.
where some of the specimens were found. Really intriguing. There's other writing as well. I would love somebody to examine some of
That looks like cuneiform,
writing.
doesn't it?
I'd love somebody to examine any of it. But yeah, that's why I think we really have to take the Citadel videos very seriously.
I mean, I can't imagine making all those props for like a
if
video
these
to
are
sell more black,
hoaxed,
black
then
market
somebody
goods.
invented a
That
language.
makes no sense.
And if this language is different from the one we just looked
It's
at,
like all
then they
these gold
invented
plates and
2
shit.
languages. Not to mention huge sets and many props. That's why I think that the Citadel videos.
Yeah, Chode's right about that. That's a good
they
point.
They are hoaxed. It's
such an expensive set.
The fight with the mantis and stuff. That's the hoax part, but it was filmed on location. Let's see. Yeah, and we got
the mantis.
Videos of living.
I don't think it's a fight with the mantis. I think the mantis they're just like
all sorts of
shaking the mantis'
artifacts.
body and it looks like a fight.
But yeah, we have videos of those guys. So, potentially that could be fake.
I think that's real.
Right?
I think they're shaking
but
it,
could
making
be
it look
fake
alive.
on location, which I think is very possible. However, look at the number of bodies.
That's what I'm saying,
and,
man. How could they
the
fake all that
armor
shit,
and
dude?
everything? It's just a staggering
A
amount.
fucking
of work
peasant in the
if
middle of
this was
nowhere
a
is like,
hoax.
it's like
But
high.
you look at scenes like this where the guy is fighting the mantis being or the large alien, whatever it is.
It's wild though, dude. Look
Which
at
looks
that.
so hokey. It really does. But
I
that
gotta go.
hand, that tridactyl hand, is a dead ringer, as I've talked about before, for the large, giant severed hands that we have. We have the severed hands of, at least 3 severed hands that belong to very large, potentially 9 foot or taller Nazca mummies, beings. And we don't know what they look like. So potentially that is one of them. But, I'm not saying that's real. I'm just saying that's very interesting. But if those are hoaxed, then I believe that they are hoaxed on location. Because, again, that is a staggering amount of work went into this, if this was a hoax. So I think we need to take these videos very seriously and these images very seriously. And when we see that, some of the characters on this pyramid in other places in the Bugosphere, or excuse me, the Citadel, when it matches characters on the Bugosphere, wow, that is really, really interesting. What does that mean? What does that mean, guys? That is just super, super fascinating. And it's really interesting that, the Bugosphere responds to, Hindu mantras and Hindu chants, again, seemingly connected to Hinduism, or at least, that part of the world. What possible connections could there be with the Nazca mummies? Why would that language potentially appear in connection with the Nazca mummies? And how does any of it possibly connect to the Bronze Age cultures, the Santashta and Antovo cultures that developed the language potentially found on the Bugosphere, or a related language, a language that led to another language? How does any of that make sense? Now, we know that Maria, for example, some of her DNA is Asian. Think about it. I don't know if that's a direct connection or not, but it is interesting. It's all very interesting, guys. I don't know what the hell we're talking about, but we seem to be dealing with ancient civilizations, lost ancient civilizations, thousands of years separated from these fine individuals, the Santashta and Ondovo cultures, I'm probably getting that name wrong again, but yeah, these guys likely did not create a UFO. They probably didn't have the tools to put that writing on the UFO if they did create a UFO or if they just found a UFO.
This is the most idiotic take I've ever heard. What do you...
They may have helped develop this language, responsible for, ultimately people using Sanskrit. But
look, this just shows you when you have flawed assumptions. Some linguist looked at the thing and was like, oh, that's fucking the language these people spoke, or whatever, 5,000, 3,500 BCE or whatever. And Jan Chode spent the rest of the video trying to, find a way for the fucking, these people to have, written the thing on the, how the Boogosphere came from these people 12,000 years ago or whatever. And I think that's ridiculous. The second I heard the scenario, I was like, wait, okay, that sounds like the original people whose language, Indo-European or whatever is based off of. That's what their language looks like. And then the people on the ground fucking had versions of that for whatever, thousands of years or something. And it just resembles the shit that these guys had in 3,500 BC. Not, how did these people from 5,000 years ago, I don't know. But that part was obvious. Why is it on the flying saucer? These people don't, they didn't do it. Oh. I don't know, Chode.
Create the Boogosphere or write on it.
He must not be a starseed.
For the first time in European history, an organization registered with the European Commission and Parliament is finally bringing military pilots and trained observers directly into meetings with elected officials to discuss UAP encounters. And some members of Parliament are finally speaking out about it. Right now, the UAP Coalition Netherlands is writing to all 720 members of the European Parliament demanding a separate category for UAP reports and European aviation safety protocols. But while Europe is finally organizing, unknown objects are shutting down major airports, breaching military bases, and displaying flight patterns identical to incursions over U.S. nuclear missile sites. We are seeing patterns of the same dynamic over multiple years and over multiple continents. As always, I'm here to report the information without bias, and you can decide what to believe. You can find the sources in my detailed articles at ufonews.co, along with in the description box below.
She's not
hey,
biased
UFOlogiers,
at all.
I'm Christina Gomez, and welcome to this episode of UFO News Updates. Here is what Yahim Decker mentioned on European UAP talks.
Why are there trained observers who see something that they cannot identify, and why are they being made fun of? So,
dude, I think
I just started looking into the topic. I started looking in my own country, the Netherlands, were there similar cases, and there were. And I also found that that was the case also in the European Union. So that's when I knew those professionals needed help. Nobody was really organized. Of course, there was MUFON and some other organizations, but they were not politically active. So I just founded the coalition to help those trained observers.
The coalition writes to all 720 members of the European Parliament when relevant topics appear on the agenda, requesting meetings to discuss UAP issues related to flight safety, scientific research, and reducing the stigma. Some members are becoming more vocal. Members of European Parliament like Fabio De Masi and Lucas Mumble from Austria have publicly recognized that stigma should not negatively impact safety for European citizens. Most members still meet only privately, but the coalition is making progress through a powerful strategy. They bring witnesses directly to meetings with members of parliament. Founder Joachim Decker describes how when trained observers can speak directly to decision makers, you can see this visible relief. For many professionals, this is the first time they can discuss their own experiences with someone in power without fear of ridicule. The coalition is petitioning for a separate UAP category within European aviation safety reporting protocols. Currently, no such category exists, and they want pilots to have a clear, standardized way to report these encounters across all EU member states.
In regards to the European Union and flight safety, there are approximately 32,000 flights per day in European Union airspace, which is a lot. You can imagine if a aviation professional like pilots, if they're up in the air and they are working and they see something that they cannot explain or that they cannot identify, and there's no communication with UAP, there's no flight plan, mostly they're not even on radar, and it's also something that we discuss when we speak to the European Commission or when we speak to members of the European Parliament if they are interested in flight safety.
When pilots encounter unidentified objects in crowded airspace, flight safety becomes critical. These objects typically do not communicate, have no flight patterns, and often do not appear on radar. Here's a question.
Russia's playing 5D
Do you think
chess.
Europe's approach of bringing witnesses directly to government officials is more effective
poked the
than
Russian
the
bear.
U.S. congressional hearing model? Let me know your thoughts in the
Poked
comments.
the Russian bear.
If you enjoy UFO news, updates, case studies, and interviews, and you will like this channel, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this episode with those you want to keep in the know with the latest UFO news. While this political groundwork is being laid,
they shouldn't have poked
active
the Russian
incursions
bear.
are occurring across European airspace. In late September and early October of this year, unknown objects forced repeated shutdowns at Copenhagen and Munich international airports. And at the same time, unidentified craft were observed over military bases and critical infrastructure throughout Germany and Belgium. Danish, Belgium, and German authorities have confirmed these incursions are real, as documented in the Souls Foundation October 2025 briefing. And it seems that more strange information is coming forward.
He goes so hard.
According to German news outlets, a quote drone network with mother drone end quote flew over the Kiel University Hospital on September 25th. Later that evening, a quote large stationary drone and several small flying objects end quote were observed over the Kiel Canal, which hosts a key naval base and several major industrial facilities.
The Kiel Canal hosts a key German naval base and major industrial facilities. This was a coordinated operation over sensitive infrastructure, displaying what researchers call the mothership dynamic, a large stationary object surrounded by multiple smaller objects operating in coordinated patterns. And this exact flight pattern has been documented repeatedly over the last 6 years. Thousands of miles away from Germany.
Dude, I
the
never
Seoul
showed you my
Foundation's
TikTok.
analysis reveals the mothership dynamic in Germany has
That's what
appeared
happens when no one
repeatedly
subscribes,
across the
and you
United
can't see
States
my sick
since
TikToks.
2019. Internal FAA and U.S. Air Force emails obtained by researcher Doug Johnson
You guys don't know
document
how
this
good you have
pattern
it.
in December of 2019 and in January of 2020 over Wyoming, Nebraska, and Kansas. An FAA
Maybe you'll see it
investigator
some other
reported
time.
a Chase County, Nebraska sheriff deputy observing 30 to 50 objects flying independently with
Keeping my
a larger
TikToks.
mothership hovering for hours.
That's how good they are.
A Kansas Highway Patrol pilot described how a trooper
The only
observed
good
an
TikToker
object
on there
with an
still.
extremely bright
Everyone else
light
sucks.
with 10 to 15 other objects that flew various patterns around it. When one object flew directly over the trooper's house at approximately 200 feet, it made absolutely no sound. And here's a critical detail. These observations were near the Francis E. Warren Air Force Base,
Let's
which
see if I can do,
oversees 200 nuclear missile silos.
I'm gonna have
Now,
the
at
AI
the
write
same
me a
time,
screenplay about a
January
debunker
6,
Holocaust.
2020 internal Air Force email from Francis E. Warren Air
How
Force
fun does
Base,
that
which oversees 200 nuclear missile silos and their launch control facilities spread out across vast rural areas of Wyoming, Colorado, and Nebraska, describes an observation of a, quote, swarm of 30, end quote, objects that, quote,
into the
were
couch
following
cushions
a
to get some
mothership,
subscribers
end quote.
That'd be cool.
Notably and perhaps alarmingly, another Air Force email
Hey,
dated
Rob, share this
January
one.
2nd, 2020, describes these objects as being, quote, clustered in an area that has quite a few Minuteman missile sites.
And the deep state's
end
out to
quote.
get me.
These are
This is my dangerous
references
work.
to the nuclear missile silos in that area.
Now, in 2025,
I tell you the
German
stories the
authorities
government
report
doesn't
the
want you to
exact
know.
same dynamics over their
I'm gonna
critical
fucking feed
infrastructure.
you to them
The Seoul
first,
Foundation
okay?
states it stains all credibility to
everybody-
believe
all
such
subscribers
specific flight
except Bob.
dynamics would appear over multiple counties, states, and now countries purely by coincidence. Unknown
Dude, you're gonna
objects have
fucking be like,
repeatedly
"Oh,
breached
hey,
some of
you
the
know,
most
Overlord,
sensitive U.S. military
that time they
facilities
were really
with
mean
complete
about Trump. They
impunity
were so
over the
mean to
past
him.
several
They were
years.
so unfair.
In late
And they're gonna
2023,
zap your ass,
objects
dude.
flew over
You're gonna end
Langley
up with
Air
Pete
Force
Hegseth
Base in
in
Virginia
dungeon.
nightly for 3 weeks, resisting all jamming
Self-inflicted
efforts,
dungeoning.
according to retired NORAD Commander General Glenn Van Herk. And then in late 2024, the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base tracked up to 17 unknown
Does it
objects
make you
and was
testify
forced to
against Pete
close its
Hegseth? What will you do?
airspace with similar incursions occurring
You die
at
for Pete
multiple
Hegseth?
U.S. military bases in the United Kingdom, including facilities believed to host nuclear weapons.
On October 10th, breaking defense